Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from the numinous Oculum in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It's the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 100 and, oh my God, 6. I am your co-host, Lord Bill. Damn, it's great to be back, Costello. And with me today, all the way from down the street, is...
Josh. I just happened to walk in here and sit in front of a microphone alt.
Welcome aboard, Josh.
Glad to be aboard.
Oh, this is so awesome. So cool. One thing, obviously, that bears mentioning, and sorry for the spotty intro there. I forgot to turn up the scroll speed on the teleprompter. Yes, it's great to have technology, but hard to use. This is the first show that we're moving on without Elric, and I apologize for the 3 months that we didn't record and really weren't out there on the social medias with any reasons or Y4s and Wither 2s and all that stuff. But, you know, life was happening. At the end of this show, there's going to be something that Elric and I recorded when we had decided to end the show. You know, once that was done and recorded, I was going to edit it and put it out, and I realized I didn't really want to end the show. And Josh stepped up and said, "Hey, I'll do it with you." And I was like, "Thank you, God." So with that as kind of the backdrop, Josh, who the hell are you?
Yeah. So my name's Josh Alt. Last name's ALT, like on a computer keyboard. I'm local here. I've been involved in Warhammer since the shop actually opened when Anders was able to take on the shop over here in Rio Rancho. I actually knew Anders for a while beforehand, and that's how I actually got into the hobby.
Cool.
Him and I used to play card games semi-competitively. I played a lot of Magic. Actually, that's where I met him. He used to work at a local gaming shop, and he would, sell me my cardboard crack back then. And then slowly, started to build that friendship, and then we would play a game called Force of Will. It's another card game. Played that semi-competitively, and then he got the position over at the shop, and God damn it, he sucked me into it.
Yeah, well, gosh, yeah, it's. I truly hate that man. Oh God, I mean, nothing personal and not in a bad way, but yeah. So one thing I would want to say is, you may have only been in this Warhammer hobby for like 3 years now with the show and all that stuff, but you have a depth of knowledge that is just crazy. You read everything.
I have to say that anytime I see an army come out, I read up on it, just because I'm interested in it, and I may have to play against it at some point. Yeah. So I like to read everything and actually get my hands on a lot of the models too. So much to my wife's chagrin, I actually own quite a few armies. Over the last 3 years, I've built up quite a force. Play primarily Age of Sigmar, but I've not shy about buying 40k armies as well.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, yeah, you've got quite the... I was going to say one of our questions is, what armies do you play? Probably be quicker to go, what armies don't you play? Because you do... Well, you said you have like at least a meeting engagement size force for everything in Sigmar, right?
Almost everything.
Yeah.
I haven't tapped into Lumineth Realm Lords yet, but with the new line that just launched, I'm not too far from doing that.
Pull the trigger, man.
I'm a little obsessed with those Spirits of the Wind, man. Like Severeth is just so cool looking. Oh. I love the rules for them. The original, like lineup for the Realm Lords just didn't really enthuse me too much. But seeing the new stuff, I'm about to get sucked in and go drop a few $100s.
Yeah, it's an issue we all have. So I got to ask you, what's your kind of gaming focus? Are you more of a competitive player or a narrative player? Maybe both. I don't know. What are you?
So I guess I could almost say both, in the sense that I approach the game competitively. I've always done that with strategy games, but I'm also there just to have a really fun time. I honestly, in the past, didn't really have that much money to be able to travel. So I'd only play at the shop, and I would play in the ongoing tournaments and stuff at the shop. One of my favorite things we would do before, the pandemic shut us all down was we would do the Path to Glory every year, at the beginning of the year with New Army, New Year.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time I participated in that. I played Gloomspite Gitz, took it all the way to the end. We
I
had
remember that.
4v4 battle royale, and I took the trophy home at the end of the day. And then the most recent one, I played Flesh Eater Courts, which is probably the army I played the most next to Gitz, and I took that one all the way for the win as well. So I really like the narrative aspect of it. I think that's something we all want to do. We want our toys to be significant in some way, and with the narrative, you get to create a character, you get to develop who they are and what their army is, and I really like that aspect. But I'm also, like trying to win. So, maybe in the future, as things open up, and I now fortunately am earning more money, I'll be able to travel and maybe get some tournaments in.
Yes. You got to come to LVO, man. Oh, God, it's close, and it's fun, and it's nuts. Yeah.
I plan on it this year.
Good. Next year. So, the next one. I think what a lot of people really want to hear about you is, do you have some credit card numbers and pins you could share with the crowd?
Unfortunately, the wife keeps all the money away from me since I buy so much. But when I run it on credit, I don't have to do the pins.
Yeah.
Don't have too much in the way to give there, but I definitely have a lot of knowledge hope to impart on others.
Yes, you do. And one of the things that super made me happy is you have experience with podcasts before, and you have this vast breadth of knowledge. I mean, I'm going to tell everybody, you're a lawyer. You know how to read, and you know how to read with a purpose.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use the technical terms because sometimes that hurts people. But there's a difference between reading for pure enjoyment and reading to get all the information out of it. And your education and all that stuff was designed around learning how to glean the important from the fluff, if you will. But so your breadth of knowledge is just amazing. And I certainly appreciate your coming on board. Because like I said, I didn't want to end the show. I enjoy this as much as I constantly bitch about it. I truly enjoy it.
Well, I was, as soon as I got in the hobby, and I found out, through Anders that the podcast exists, I've been listening to it since then. And
I'm so sorry.
it's a good time. I did some podcasting in the past. Don't look for it. You won't be able to find it. I've tried. But it's really fun just sitting down and, getting engaged in something you love, like this hobby, and being able to talk about it, and share with others. One of my favorite parts about this game is the community. Yeah. It's one of my favorite aspects. In fact, as the years have progressed with the Warhammer store being open here in Rio Rancho, I've been engaged quite a bit. One of my little accolades I could throw out there, we had the new Hobbyist Expo a couple of years back, and I was runner-up for a Hobby Champion.
Yep.
Because I'm so excited about playing with others, getting others engaged in the hobby, especially, getting new players in. That's one of the things, while I can be competitively minded, one of the things I like to do is, play with new players, and, I'm willing to take the L to teach them. You know?
Yeah.
And they feel good. They feel like they're working their army and everything. And, I'm able to use what I've learned and, my competitive spirit to help them, push forward and get excited. There's nothing wrong with losing if you're helping others win.
Yeah, don't worry. Before too long, we'll have you clubbing baby seals like it was old hat. I'm kidding. All right, so enough about Josh. Back to me. Moving on towards more news that's intro worthy. One of the things I wanted to just mention briefly, and I know this is old news, and it goes to the fact that we haven't recorded for like 3 months, but the guy who did the YouTube series Astartes got picked up by Games Workshop to be an employee in their animation department. And I mean, I know everybody knows this, but the true significance here is not just, wow, another great artist joined up the team. It points to the idea that GW is willing and is big enough to admit when someone outside is better than the people on the inside. And they're not just going to close the doors and say, well, here's our animation studio and you will consume what we give you and we'll sue that other guy into oblivion. That was the old GW. The new GW was like, hey, guy, you're really good at this. Why don't you come work with us? We'll give you a cool corner office, later. After the pandemic. Wink, wink. So I don't know. It gives me, it's such a refreshing change to see GW acting in such a responsible manner and not just looking at the guy and saying, here's a cease and desist, take down all that stuff off YouTube, or we will sue you to the point where you can't afford your dog.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't agree with you enough on that. I mean, we've all watched those Astartes videos, and they were just groundbreaking. You know, to see those hit, and at first wondering like, I didn't know that GW was doing stuff on YouTube. Then you find out it's not them. You're like, this guy's legit.
Yeah,
this guy knows what he's doing, and he's got a passion for this. And it's great that they see that talent and capitalize on it.
Yep.
I mean, it could have been damaging if they did do the cease and desist thing, where so many people were just raving about it, right? So instead, what you do is you make your enemy your friend, right? Hire them and give them a budget and let them make this even more popular, right? Yeah. And bankroll it.
Yeah, and I mean that's you give a guy like that the tools, and I think the biggest limitation for him was probably the time. He had a real job. This was a hobby project that he did, but the passion was there.
Oh yeah.
Now that it's his job and he's going to have the tools, I mean, maybe he already had the tools he needed, but obviously he did, but he'll have access to whatever he needs. You can just imagine what's going to come out of that shop. GW, I love to hate you. Oh God, I really do. Because like there's a section of the company that I would gladly walk up to and face slap. Whereas, 98% of the rest of them, I would be like, will you be my friend? Okay.
Would you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, please?
I define myself by the number of likes I get per day. All right, moving on to a kind of twitchy subject. This one's a little weird, but we recently had an episode, if you will, in the 40K world where an individual was banned for the year from competing in the ITC. He actually wrote an open letter to the community in which he was very open about the fact that he cheated during a tournament and he crossed the line between competitive and win at all costs. He knows he crossed the line, and he basically said, I know I'm getting banned, but here's the deal. I'm going to ban myself for like 4 months, and I'm going to try to, come back as a better player and a better person. I thought his letter was, I like to think the best of everybody. And if that was a heartfelt, because he has no reason to try to put some kind of corporate face on this, it was most likely from the heart. And I think he's got his lesson down. But I think the big thing here is it's just a game, folks.
Yeah.
It's just a game. And, yes, there might be a prize at stake. But when you look at the armies that we're putting on the tables anyway, is the prize really something that we can't get to? I mean, I don't know. It's don't cheat. Folks, just don't cheat.
Yeah, no, I heard about this a few days ago, and it was a bit of a shock, but him coming out and being forthright's good. Certainly the suspension is appropriate. Give you all a little proof positive that I'm a lawyer here. We have similar things we have to deal with called ethical rules, where, we can't win at all costs. We can't, lie to the court. We can't cheat. We can't steal or any of those things. And they're all things we take seriously. We have to play within the rules in order to win. And if you can't win with the rules, then you just don't win.
Yeah.
Right? So let's kind of take this as a sobering reminder of sometimes the competitive spirit can go a little too far. So make sure you put the reins on it.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as the rest of the show goes, hey, we're going to cover a lot of the stuff we always cover. We're going to talk about some of the new stuff. Now, we're not going to go back and do everything for the last 3 months, because that would be A, an entire show by itself, and B, boring. But we're going to talk about some highlights. We're going to jump into creation and talk about some stuff we've worked on and, farted around with. In the battle section, probably won't have all that much because the battles are not anything to do with Games Workshop, at least for me. But in the lore section, we're going to dive into Teclis, the book. And obviously, we're going to have to go back a little towards Marathi. That's, a given. But we're going to focus pretty hard on the Teclis book and kind of our thoughts about the lore, the rules, and where we're going. And what's really odd is the next show will probably be Be'lakor, because as we're presupposing what's going to happen, we're both sitting on Be'lakor books. So, because they came out as well. Huzzah for stuff. But we'll take a quick break and we'll head into New Dawn here in a second. Okay, so here we are in New Dawn. All the new stuff from GW. And I don't know, what do you think? The first things out of the bag should be the Broken Realms books?
I definitely think so. Those are changing Age of Sigmar in a big way.
Oh my God. So we got Morathi, back in January?
Yeah. It was. I think that was about the time the coin came out for it, right?
Yeah. And that was it for quite a while. We went through February and March and most of April. And then all of a sudden, Teclis drops. And then Be'lakor drops 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it was a 1-2 punch if I've ever seen one.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and we're not going to dive into it right here, obviously, because we're devoting the show to the Teclis book. But the Morathi book just basically took, I don't know, the Mortal Realms and turned them on their ear.
Oh, 100%. We all know Morathi was playing some type of game and she was going to blow something up. And then, well, she did it.
In a big way. I mean, she's like, what do I need to get this done? I need to screw everybody. Got it. Done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you have been under a rock like we have, or I have, for 3 months, basically Morathi is no longer just some kind of weird snake lady. She's a god. And she did this by, I don't know, turning on Sigmar. She basically takes over Anvilgard, renames it Harkuron. And, I don't know, just does a quick ritual thing and frees a bunch of souls from Slaanesh and says, look at me, I'm a goddess. Who knew?
Right, like doesn't she go into the boiling blood and almost like into Slaanesh and then finds all of those, hollowed elven souls and just starts eating them.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story. I've always kind of liked Morathi. She's kind of sexy.
Just a little.
Just dead sexy. But, I've always liked the Daughters of Cain. Hint, hint, Elric. Bring them back. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. So, yeah, to have her stab Sigmar in the back, basically wipe out one of the poster child cities, Anvilgard, that was pretty big. I mean, it moved the story forward so much, and it sets the stage for Slaanesh breaking out and becoming free. Yay, finally. Although, boo, later. In a few minutes, we'll explain the boo. But it just basically took the story that we have been going through and the slow progression of the story and moved it so far forward so fast. It's crazy. And, oh, man. And then, you get to the Teclis book, which we're going to cover, deeply in the lore section. But, and, spoilers, you have a god fight, for God's sakes. And one of them gets his butt handed to him. And some pretty major characters get pushed over the edge.
Literally in one instance, right? Yeah, no, I mean, I think we all wanted to see some of this for a long time. We have these big players and, you have these little skirmish battles. That's what we're playing. But then you have two gods actually like butt heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're in for a good time.
A lot of the writing in these two books has been very, very good.
Oh, yeah. Which makes me even more excited for Be'lakor.
I know. Speaking of, the Be'lakor model is out.
Yeah, what's that right behind you there, Bill?
I don't know. It could be a primed Be'lakor.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. First of all, building that model is a joy. It's, building the old Bloodthirsters can be a complete pain in the... Building that was like... The only thing that made me mad is the chains that are on his wings they're not that flimsy. They're actually pretty strong. But I wanted to leave them off to be able to dry brush the wings really easily. The problem is the joints where the chains go in is big sections of the sinew of his wings or the bone. Really? So if you leave it off, you will have these weird gaps. And I I don't trust myself painting well enough to match it perfectly. So I just glued him in.
I mean, he's gorgeous. He can't be understated. Was it Darren Latham actually did this one, right?
Yeah, this is a Darren Latham.
Oh my God.
And yeah, he's the exact same size as a Bloodthirster. So compared to the Demon Prince, he's twice the size of the Demon Prince.
Oh yeah.
So he's just phenomenal. And Peachy's video on how to paint him is actually, I was struggling to think about how to paint him. I kind of wanted to do him like I did my old Bloodthirster with the fire theme, but that's not really Bellacor's shtick.
No.
That's not his thing. So I was like, damn, okay. And I found Peachy's video and I was like, gosh, why not just, the man, make it easy. Just do it. So that's what I'm going to do. I set a record yesterday, I think, for a Saturday. I went to the shop 4 times.
Oh my goodness.
You were there for like 2 of them, weren't you?
No, just the first one. Just the first one. Yeah.
So then I went right back because it said they had delivered my packages.
Oh, okay.
And then I went back a little bit later to pick up, I forgot what else I picked up. And then just before he closed, I ran in there to get the paints that were on the Peachy. This is how to paint. I was like, oh, I've only got 1 pot of that. And I looked and it was drier than dry. And I was like, oh, thank you, GW, and your lovely pots.
But also thank you, GW, for having a store right down the street from us.
Oh, I swear to God, it is so nice.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Oh, it is.
This model is just blowing my mind, man. I mean, the level of detail, and you know what? He's amazing himself.
Yeah.
But those stairs
do
something to bring it all together. Like, it's just so menacing. And, really that's what Be'lakor should be like.
Yes.
He shouldn't be this guy who just kind of looks like Archaon's little lieutenant off in the corner, right? Like, he was the Everchosen before.
Yeah, he was the Everchosen before Archaon. He should
like
not.
Something.
Yeah. And he should make other demon princes look puny. And he does. He actually dwarfs them. He makes them look like a kid brother.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. It's kind of funny before, when you had the old Be'lakor model next to the current demon princes. You're like, wait a second. I thought he was supposed to be the best one. What's happening?
Yeah.
Like, when I first came to the hobby, I was confused about that. Like, shouldn't he be bigger? I don't know.
Some of the models, they're taking great steps. The Gazguls and, of course, the Be'lakors and all that. They're taking a lot of steps to making a lot of these models work better for what they represent. But, boy, for the longest time there, it was like, when Nagash was the clown. I mean, the metal Nagash was, oh, my God. You could not look at that model and go, there's a seriously imposing character that I am afraid of. No.
Maybe that's how Teclis remembered him before he went into him in the book.
Probably. He's like, I remember when you were wearing clown shoes, you idiot. All right. On another note, I got my Bandai Salamander model. And oh my God, it's every bit as cool as the Ultramarine, except 5 times cooler because it's not an Ultramarine, it's a Salamander. So.
I mean, as long as it's not an Ultramarine, you're already one up there.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's actually a good chapter.
Yeah. Actually worthwhile Marines. So, wow. So there goes 3 more listeners out of the 5 that we had. They may be a little bit pricey, but they are fantastic dolls. I mean, action figures. They are super cool. And they do nothing for the game. Although we did have that plan to use the McFarlane and the Bandai.
Oh, yeah.
To put together a skirmish, a kill team skirmish.
Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine? 5v5.
Oh, Jesus.
Bandai and McFarlane models. Oh.
God, it's sick.
Oh, man. We'd have to roll like appropriately sized dice too. So that would be probably the most expensive part of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd have to get those big hard foam dice and throw them across the room. And some battle tomes came out. So the Daughters of Cain got a new book. Yay.
Yeah. It was a really great book too.
Yeah, it was super cool because like after Marathi, they got all kinds of bumps in units and everything got stronger. And okay, let's just not. The new Hedonites of Slaanesh book came out. And Josh, take it away.
Even before the first Hedonites book came out, I just really liked Slaanesh. Not just the sex, drugs, and rock and roll aspect of it, but, in terms of chaos gods, I thought it was really interesting, this god of excess, and these things that are lithe and swift, and just move so quickly across the battlefield. But
Yeah.
if you were to look at this otherwise horrendous creature, it would just manifest as what you want, right? Your desires.
Right.
And I thought this is a really interesting aspect, for a Chaos God. And, I started getting into them. Then they announced, the first book, and I was stoked. And then we saw all those beautiful models, and I
Oh
spent
my God, Celeste.
so much money.
Yeah.
Oh, the Keepers of Secrets were
Yeah,
amazing.
just-
Even like the Contorted Epitome, I loved painting that thing.
God,
It's such a
yes.
beautiful model. Such a beautiful model.
Ugh.
And, they came out the box real strong.
Kind of
And
hot. Yeah, they were kind of hot.
They were a little bit of almost cancerous, when it came to playing with others. Because,
Yes.
I put them on one side of the board, and next thing I know, for turn one, they're on the other side of the board, and I'm winning. And I felt like it wasn't fair.
And even when you're not winning as much, you're building up depravity, which means you're going to win.
Right. So when you're second and then you're third, and depending on the game, your fourth keeper hit, it's not fun for the other player.
No.
And so they had to go through those reworks and everything. And then they announced the next book, and boy, the models were just singing.
Oh,
Like
I know.
the Bliss Barb Seekers, just one of the most dynamic, beautifully posed models. I mean, the old Seekers look like, I don't know, garbage, but the new ones
Okay.
are just beautiful.
Yeah.
Adorned appropriately. They all have like action poses. The Bliss Barb Archers are just like leaning off and shooting in all these great directions. The Slick Blades look great. And then, of course, we got Sigvald.
Yeah.
Right.
God, yeah.
And he's coming in hot. He looks amazing. They spoil some of his rules. Like, all right, this guy's probably going to be, a hero hunter. He's going to be pretty fun. And they come out and the point breaks on everything. And they just got hit so hard with the Nerf hammer. They were just like, you know what? You had your day in the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, the line's so amazing. What's Hedonism bot? Glutos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. His model's out of this world.
Yeah,
And
it's nuts.
it touches on an aspect of Slanesh that we really haven't seen before. That other side of the excess, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, God, I want to put these models on the table. And then you realize that it's going to be real hard to do anything with them.
To me, it's like the old Zeech 1.0
Mm-hmm.
to the absolute Nerf bat of the new Zinch, or of the changes that they got that just basically relegated them to
Yeah.
For the Slanesh, I think that first round of nerfs actually put them where they needed to be competitively. Yeah. And the problem is during all of this, we didn't have the sheer number of games being played that they can draw information from. And I wonder if that factored into, now, I mean, the lead time of a book is not a tournament cycle. It's a lot longer.
Yeah.
So they had to be thinking about these changes early on in the COVID world. And just to see it just come out and be so vastly different and so frankly underpowered.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with their point values. Like for what they do, they are so overcosted.
Yeah.
That you don't actually get to benefit from what tricks you may or may not have.
Yep.
And I think the thing is, a Heat Knights player is kind of slap in the face is like we get Doc at the same time that comes out screaming with their updates. And then, Heat Knights, Slanesh is supposed to be the quickest, right?
Yeah.
They are across the board before you can even blink, right? That's what it is in the lore. That's what it is on the tabletop.
They do.
We're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then you have Lumineth Realm Lords coming out and being like, hey, the thing that you do so well? Actually, we're the ones who do it.
Yeah.
So they just sort of drop this Heat Knights launch right in our lap in between these two things and said, here's a dead weight.
It's sad. It makes me wonder because, like, you're right. The Daughters of Cain came out of the gate hot. Mm-hmm. Lumineth Realm Lords came out hot and got hotter.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no signs of them. Well, I mean, I'm sure they will get slightly nerfed, although the big bugaboo, I don't think is really a big bugaboo at all. Mm-hmm. I just, why Slanesh got slapped so bad. But like you said, the nice part is most of the problem for them is the points.
Yeah.
And that can be fixed overnight. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they'll get around to it and fix that up.
That'd be good. I think that also with the new book is that I think with the points being so high, it just doesn't feel like I know how to make a list properly right now.
Yep.
If the points were fixed, maybe I can go in and visualize what it is I in fact want to do. It's probably going to involve a whole bunch of slick blades and bliss bar seekers, right? But as far as it goes, like before, the design space in terms of list building was so great, and here I'm just kind of like, I guess I'm just going to do as fast as I can, but I can't really do much.
Yeah.
And then you have some like the new hero, the Lord of Pain, kind of falls flat a little bit, and the what are their guys with the shields, the Myrmidons?
Yeah.
Right? Beautiful models.
Oh, my
out of
gosh.
this world, beautiful. But I just don't feel like they really just seem like overcosted Chaos Warriors.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to be a little bit more spicy.
A little beefier.
Yeah, so hopefully we get some changes down the way. Not that we're going too far into this, but they did just, of course, announce those 2 new demon models for Slaanesh and Warhammer community this week.
Yeah.
That are absolutely gorgeous and make me wonder why we had a Hedonites launch, about 2 months ago.
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
We are going to address the elephant in the room here in a little bit, but not at this second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a sad thing, but it will get better. That's the beauty of the day and age that we live in is tomorrow a PDF could come out that fixes all that point stuff.
Oh yeah.
Or the next General's Handbook or AOS 3.0. Who knows? Slaanesh might be costed for 3.0.
That's true.
And when everybody else gets adjusted, all of a sudden they're right back in the middle of the pack, where everybody should be. So who knows? We don't know, and we don't claim. Well, I claim to know okay. All right. Moving on real quick for those Adeptus Titanicus freaks, and you know who you are. Okay. That new freaking, oh my God. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it right there. If you are at all into Adeptus Titanicus, you have to get. That model is huge, and it's amazing. And that model, I think, is going to push me into building my Adeptus Titanicus stuff. Once I finish with the OCRX, Illumina, yeah, forget it. I'll never get to it. Did I tell you I was gonna do up my Lumineth and have someone else paint them for me?
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah. I don't want to say just who just yet, but I've never done it before. I've never farmed out painting, but I think this might work for both of us. So yeah, we'll see. The elephant in the room. GW came out with a Warhammer community article earlier in the week and said, hey, listen, we're slowing down the releases even more to where nothing new in April. And our next new releases will be in May. It doesn't say when in May. It could be the last weekend. We don't know. Everybody has an opinion on why. Some people say it's Suez Canal. Some people say it's playing catch up. I have no idea what to think anymore. I just don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think there's going to be any number of factors, and a lot of them have to do with, trade, economics, all those things. I know that, well, I don't know, but I assume that Brexit's got to have some sort of effect. Yeah. Having to, get hit with those tariffs and everything. I know that's got to really sort of force them to change up the logistics.
Incredibly much.
And I got to say, maybe it's not a bad thing, right? No. We've had times, where we'd order something and we expect it to come in, with a certain amount of time, and it gets delayed. We all get those emails.
Oh yeah.
Hey, if it doesn't ship within 28 days,
give us a shout.
Yeah. So maybe we should just take a step back.
Yeah. Take
a deep breath and realize that, summer's coming pretty soon, and they usually have some pretty big releases around then. And so it should be okay. It's probably a good thing that we're taking just a couple week break. So that way, when all the hotness starts hitting, we actually are able to get it.
Even if it's a 4-week break, even if we don't see anything until mid-May, I'm okay. I'm not, I have enough of a backlog to keep me going for freaking 5 years. But the idea of this, even the Teclis and Bellicor coming out within weeks of each other, when either one of those books could stand a 2-month window to digest it.
Oh, yeah.
The Lumineth release, to me, has been a victim of COVID since the beginning, because I'm sure it didn't go the way they wanted it to go. I'm almost sure they wanted to have that in the phasing a lot closer together. Same thing with Sisters of Battle.
Oh,
Hell,
yeah.
the same thing with everything. Even the 40K 9th edition codex, or yeah, codexes. There's this boom, 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 and then 3 months, and then boom, 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 and you know this is all coming down to shipping and printing and Brexit. And anecdotally, I can tell you that I had reason to be talking to some of the people for GW in the Netherlands,
Huh.
and they do some of the merchandise, the GW merch stuff, and their simple thing used to be to create the product, ship it to England. England, with the GW network, ships it out, and everything's simple. Now they can't even get it to England without actually having to pay again for the thing. And they're like, we can't do that. And here we are, a 3-4 man shop in the Netherlands. We can't do this worldwide thing. So we're having to retool and refigure out how our supply chain's going to go. And it's all part of Brexit. And then you can just imagine what the Suez Canal thing did to them. I mean, it's like, I think a lot of those T-shirts are made in China. I'm just saying. So, yeah, I pity, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have the ultimate respect for the GW product line managers and the schedulers and the supply chain managers who are trying to make, I'm sure they are making daily decisions that are affecting the outcome of where all this stuff is going to get put into the release schedule.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the pressure that they are under to keep lines going. And I don't know. I feel so bad for them and me.
Certainly we all want our toys. And, can't get them quick enough. But I think that, a quick step back, deep breath, so that way when all the hotness hits, we're all going to be ready to just spend that money. So you're here, folks. Save.
And I think the hotness is going to be AOS 3.0. Mm-hmm. And one of the most beautiful outcomes of the Teclis book that we're going to cover later is I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Stormcast versus Nighthaunt again. And I think that ship sailed. So, but yeah, that's in part and parcel to this. And I didn't want to hit this too hard because I know this is a very, very sore point for a lot of people. But you have to imagine that the Curse City weirdness is caught up in this.
Yeah.
Because from what I understand, the models are going to be made available. Well, the models are made at GW in England. So yeah, they have complete control over that. A lot of the other stuff, the printed matter that makes up that game, they probably can't get into the production schedule for quite some time. Their unwillingness to discuss or to come out and say anything about, is Curse City going to get reprinted? Will there be more? I think that comes down to the fact that they just don't know. And they don't want to say, yes, we'll do more. When they know they have to print codexes, they have to print AOS 3.0, they have to print General's Handbooks, they have to do all this other stuff that's going to have a huge impact. Curse City was a debacle. I think it was worse than Indomitus. Because at least Indomitus, they came back around and said, all right, we blew it. Here's the deal. We're going to do this as made to order.
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing that with Curse City because I don't think they can.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It has to be the separate printed matter, the like cardboard punch outs and everything like that. That's holding it up, right? Like with Indomitus, right? You didn't have those things, right? It wasn't its self-contained game, right? So that has to be it because the models are available.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be able to make these models again.
And they can print the books. That's in England too. It's the hard cardboard.
Yep.
The tokens, the map boards, and all that stuff that Curse City relies on.
Well, I'm hopeful that still in the future people will be able to get their hands on the models. I think that's going to be, paramount. And certainly, I hope that things do change in the future, such that they can actually get back to printing the cardboard and getting all that stuff out, so people can complete the game and not just have the models. Though, let's be honest, we're mostly in it for these models. They're so gorgeous.
I really want to, one of the, like I told you before we started the show, I really want to get my Curse City built later on today because Pam loved Blackstone Fortress and she enjoyed playing that. And she will enjoy, I'm certain, Curse City because it's more, she's more into fantasy than sci-fi, even though she doesn't like AOS, which is so weird. But, oh well, no big deal. But I really want to get that built at least so that we can, give the game a go. It looks absolutely stunning. I'm not going to sit there. There's 8,000 YouTube of Curse City. And I know for every one of them, and I've seen some, some people flat out say that they're kind of embarrassed about doing videos about Curse City because not only not everybody has a copy, but a majority of the people don't have a copy, which is super freaking sad. Yep. For a release that was so hyped. But, I mean, here's something else I saw, and I didn't see it. I saw it mentioned on a podcast, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong. All of the painting videos for Curse City came out before Curse City dropped. Since Curse City dropped, they've had a few playthroughs on the Warhammer Twitch channel, or they had that one big playthrough, and nothing's been said since. This, to me, is an indication of how messed up their ability to, I don't want to say handle it. I don't want to say like they're having to handle it like it's a crisis, because it's not a crisis. It's a game, for God's sakes. But I think they literally are not telling us what's going on because they don't know what's going on. And they don't have a plan yet. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of embarrassing to go out there and say, we don't know. We just don't know. So, again, I kind of feel bad for them. But, again, they have understated the need for this game by about a factor of 5. And when you did that original order, who sat there in some office and said, we're making enough money to pay back the British government all this money we got for COVID relief. We are making money hand over fist, but we can only afford to build 10,000 copies of this game instead of 50,000 copies because we don't really want them sitting on the shelves. When you saw what happened with Indomitus, you made 50,000 and you sold 150,000.
Oh, yeah.
So think about it. While I feel bad for them, this is a hole that they dug themselves.
Agreed. And
I stopped feeling bad all of a sudden.
Yeah, I hold no sympathy for him. I know that, if GW wanted, they want to make money, right? Yeah. And I think there was a level of forethought that was missed here, given, the releases in the past. Remember when that one Sisters Battle box launched and that thing was sold out in like almost like 2 minutes. It was something absurd.
It was ridiculous.
Indomitus, same thing, right? This is the history of your game, guys. Next time, think a little bit further along. That way you can make sure that you have that customer satisfaction.
And the problem with it is they're creating their own self-fulfilling prophecy because there's some bean counter there who's like, yeah, I know you say we can sell this many, but I don't think so. So we're going to chop that in half. And then the people like us are going to get so angered by these big box releases that there's going to be one that comes out and that bean counter is going to get shouted down and the other guys are going to say, no, we're making 150,000 copies. Then they're only going to sell 80,000 and that bean counter is going to be like, ha ha ha, told you. And then all of a sudden we're going to see nothing but limited releases. And that, to me, that will be the death knell of everything. But to me, limited releases, when they're not backed up by a full product line, are the death knell of any game.
I agree.
So this is sad, but true. But anyway, have we beat New Dawn to death? Have we? I mean, I know there's a lot we missed.
I mean, I think that, we heard the final exhale around the time we were talking about that Adeptus Titanicus. I think we're ready to move on to creation.
All right, let's do it.
Build me a throne worthy of Mordor.
That's right, kids. You know what that means. We're going into the realm of creation, where we're going to talk about the stuff we've hobbied. And I think this time I will go first. First thing I wanted to say and sort of announce, I guess, even though they don't pay me to announce these things. But hey, Josh and I live in a desert, and so it's kind of dry here. And so we kind of have to paint with wet palettes. And I think of all the wet palettes I've ever tried, the Red Grass Games palette, it may be the most expensive, but it's also the best by leaps and bounds. And coming up in May, they're going to do a Kickstarter for an improved version of their studio wet palette as well as their painter. They have two sizes. One's big, one's large. One's large, one's small. Oh, that's staying in because people know I'm an idiot.
It's a Vente. It's not a large.
Oh, you pretentious. Anyway, okay, sure. So some of the hobby stuff that I have done recently in the past, and it's funny, you'll hear this more on the at the end of the show when I have the Elric signing off thing. I've done more hobby in the last like 3 months than I've done probably in the past year. Problem is almost none of it was GW stuff. It was all Marvel Crisis Protocol and Star Wars Legion. So
I mean, I can see why. Those models are gorgeous.
I mean, yeah, they are. Okay, the Marvel Crisis Protocol models are gorgeous. And they're hard plastic, so you build them off sprues like a GW model. But they make some very strange decisions when it comes to what needs to be a separate part, like a head at the scale that we're talking, 28 millimeter heroic, doesn't need to be made out of 3 parts with each side of the face being a separate part. Okay. So, you just got to look back at GW and go, there's a reason they're the leader in the field. They just, they have it. One thing, again, I'm talking about the Be'lakor model. I'm putting it together and I'm like, wow, that's a stupid place for a joint because it's going to be so visible. And then you look ahead in the pictures and you go, except that it's completely covered by that other thing that I'm about to put on. And
yep.
I'll shut up now, GW. I will just shut up now. So, speaking of which, you've built Curse City, right?
I've built almost all of it. Yeah.
Did you notice it's a kind of a different plastic and there's like no mold lines?
Yeah. It's amazing, frankly. It's somewhat, like in a way monopose. You have like a couple things you can switch here and there on some things. But as far as it went, I mean, like it came off super well, particularly the hero models, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're scratch cleaning it and everything, like it just smoothed out so nicely. I felt like in a way the plastic was stronger, but gave a little bit better. I'm not too sure how to describe that, but it made it so easy to clean and put together. And it seemed like it was going to be a weird build at first. Like I was putting together Yeltsin Dark for my wife and it's just weird how certain things slotted in. But as soon as you put it together, you're like, oh yeah, that was nice.
That's slick. It's fun. I was watching a video and the guy who was doing it was also, he worked in plastics manufacturing. And he was talking about, there's as many different kinds of plastic as there are, different kinds of cloth, really. Mm-hmm. And he's like, they all have different reasons for use. Some of them are super high impact. Some of them have great shear strength. Some of them have, they just have different properties. And he was stating that he's reasonably sure this is a different formulation. And it ties in with the fact that the GW production plant just updated and uprooted. They now have a crap ton more injection machines. Yeah. So they can turn out more models and better models. And if this is an indication of models to come, one thing I saw in Be'lakor, I was struggling to find mold lines. Now, obviously, it's a new mold.
Yeah.
So those are going to be minimized. But they're also, they just weren't, there wasn't anything to clean up. I mean, there was a couple of little spots where I had to take the tool to it, but not much. Just if you really want to know how good GW is, go buy a Privateer Press model and just giggle. Or, buy some of these Marvel Crisis Protocol, which are not bad. They're very good models. They go together really well, and they hide their own seams pretty well. But you go to Star Wars Legion, and the older models, which use the soft plastic, we're not talking mold lines. We are talking, hi, I have a third arm sticking out of my arm. It's that deep. And because it's soft plastic, it's really hard to take off, to the point to where on a lot of Stormtroopers, I just give up. I'm like, at the skill I'm working with, I don't care. Just don't care. I just want to get this game on the table. And so, yeah, my creation has been circling back around now, Bill. Way to make a big circular conversation. Yeah, I've done a lot of MCP and Star Wars Legion, both of which are really great games. So if y'all are out there looking for kind of a cool game, if you like superheroes, Crisis Protocol is freaking amazing. And if you like Star Wars, Legion is awesome. Plays really well. And then last night, I'm getting ready to paint Bellicor. And I'm sort of reorganizing things, and I was looking for the paints that I was going to need, and I had to make a quick run to buy more paint because I'm an idiot. And I found my old Baneblade, and I was just like, all I have to do is weather the tracks. And this thing is pretty much kind of done. I mean, I can do other little things as we go, but so yeah, I spent the entire evening drilling out the new antenna holes and putting on I had to magnetize the top turrets and oh God, it turned into a 6-hour, I'll just knock this thing out in an hour. Yeah, right. The thing that was easiest was putting dirt and rust on the tracks. And everything else, yeah, but I got my Baneblade done. One of my Baneblades done. So
no, man, it looks great, Bill. The weathering is fantastic. The antennas look great. I mean, you can tell you put some love into that guy, and
oh yeah,
it's gonna be real fun to put on the field, man.
Oh God. I'm not gonna do an Astra Militarum army. I'm not. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that right there.
Until they, send out new boxes that are specific to Catachan, Cadia, Creed.
Why do you do these things to me? Anyway, what have you been up to?
Recently, I finished up my Mega Gargant.
God.
It's a little challenge that me and there's another guy at the shop did. We challenged each other to do the Mega Gargants, and we each picked one of the different ones. I did the Kraken Eater.
Yeah.
And finished that guy up. He's actually in the shop right now, and he's also on my Instagram page. In preparation for Curse City, because we were going to get a group together for it.
Yep.
The wife and I selected the heroes we're going to play. I picked up Amalda Braskov, and she's working on Yeltsin Darek. And so I just went ham on Amalda. Like, I finished her in an evening. Just such a great model. And I'm just, for some reason, she just sings to me. It was just like, the exact, her pose is strong. I'm listening to the Curse City book.
Yeah.
Like, she's an awesome character, as we're learning more and more. So that was fantastic. I did put together, all the zombies, all the skeletons, and their corresponding hero units.
Yeah.
I've got Radikar put together. I need to finish getting the 3 vampire, the Thriceborn or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And then the big guy, and then the 2 bodyguards, and then we'll have the full set put together. But kind of like you last night, Bill, I didn't plan on this. I just, I was going to go work some more on maybe some of my Daughters of Cain or something. And then I was just staring at Gorslav, the Gravekeeper.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to do this. I need to put paint on this model right now. And so then I go upstairs and just start painting. Yeah. And he's almost done at this point. It's such a great model. It's got that real Guillermo del Toro look to it.
Doesn't it? Okay. I was wondering if I was the only one that, yeah.
I mean, Hellboy 2, it almost looks like the angel near the very end, right? And so that, it just drew me to it, and, in a way made me realize that, well, when, Soulblight Gravelords launch, I'm probably going to make a zombie apocalypse army. And so I'm going to try and field 180 zombies.
Well, of course, yeah.
As one does.
As you do. I mean, come on.
It's such a fun model. The way you can work on weathering effects if you're working on non-metallic metals, which I didn't do, but his spade is amazing for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a lot of creative space. I would paint that model 10 times over.
Yeah, probably.
so
It's just so evocative.
Yeah.
Most of those Curse City models are, even the rats
Yeah.
are like, there's a dynamism to that just silly little base full of rats that, they're so cool. Ugh.
So cool.
God, I hate GW.
The other thing I've been working on is, so my wife doesn't really play the game with me. I've been trying to get her to play Age of Sigmar for a long time. And we've got like the basics for an Iron Jaw / Big Wall army.
Oh, yes, yes.
So I'm like very like slowly trying to coax her into it. And I picked her up a box of Savage Oryx yesterday. And I realized she's not going to make the models herself. So I started putting together the Savage Oryx for her.
Nice.
That way I can be like, hey, honey, look, your entire army's here. And
yeah.
I got the airbrush set up so you can actually start using it. So what, you going to play with me? See if that works. I don't know if it will.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
And so if you want to see any of the models, I post pretty regularly on my like works in progress and things like that. My Instagram handle is @hereticmodel. We'll make sure to put that on the Facebook in the show notes.
Yes.
You can also follow my wife, who I guess I haven't really talked to her too much. I know that Bill's mentioned us a little bit before in the podcast, but my wife at the new Hobbyist Expo,
yep,
she took her Mortarion that she painted and got 3rd place.
Mm-hmm.
Was beat out only by some really experienced painters.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she was beat out by guys that went specifically to win.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, she painted Mortarion as I just want to do this kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out just ridiculously well. This, my wife has all the talent, right? When it comes to the artistic side of things, I can play the game and I can paint on models, but I sit next to her and I'm like, why do I even try sometimes? You can follow her at Imperator Furiosa, sort of like Mad Max, right? So if you go to my page on Instagram at Heretic Model, you'll be able to see the link for her there.
Yeah.
Too, so you can just click on that and see her work.
And we'll have it in the show notes and on the Facebook page.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to recently. I'm hoping to finish Gorslav tonight.
Oh, nice.
And then see if I can start working on the zombies. I may only have 10 of them, but I might as well get 10 into the 180 while
sure.
I can.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. Well begun is half done. So, one thing I think we forgot to mention earlier, well, I know we forgot to mention it because we didn't. The Dire Chasm warband for the Crimson Court came out yesterday also. And
that was last week, actually.
Was it last week?
It was last week, yeah.
You're right, it was last week. Yep, I just got mine in the mail. So, well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge used to be you could say that whenever I got it is when it came out, but that's not true anymore. No fault of theirs. It's, worldwide. So, but yeah, the Crimson Court models. Oh my God.
They're gorgeous. I've already built Prime Mine. I'm working on, I forget the prince's name, Duval or something like that.
Yeah, Duval.
Started working on painting him up. And these are probably the best models I've seen come out of Underworlds, to be frank. They fit together so well. They have really nice form and function. One of the things, it's kind of like what you're describing with the Bellacore, like when you're putting a model together and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a whole new aspect to it where you're like, not only do I love putting this thing together, but it gives me more impetus to paint it.
Yes.
Right? And so I've started putting some paint on him. That's something I could have mentioned as well. I started putting some paint on him. He's maybe 50, 60% done.
Nice.
Beautiful, beautiful model. You have a lot of fun with that if you pick him up.
Yep, I did, and I will, and Warhammer Underworlds is one of the games that Pam will play.
Yeah.
She gets it, but she doesn't play one warband enough to get the tactics down for it. So it's kind of weird, but she's playing and I'm getting games in, so I'm happy. Gotta work on it, and you mentioned, all of the Instagram stuff, and we are going to make a new Rolling Bad Instagram page. There is one out there, but we don't have access to it. And I don't know who owns that page. It was started. It might have been James, might have been Elric. I don't know. We're going to put all of our new stuff out on a new page, and we'll put that in in the show notes and in the Facebooks and in the Twitters and all that stuff when we get that done, and we'll share our stuff and link our stuff into that so you can see what we're working on, and feel free to dump your stuff on there too. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be great. You can tag us in it, and that's one of the things. I think we can transition with this too, Bill. We're going to have a lot more social media engagement as well because, a lot of this is, you're our audience. We got to be engaged with you.
That's right,
and we want you to be engaged with us as well. As it comes up, we have a Discord, we have the Facebook page. We're going to get the Instagram going. I'm sure shortly we'll get the Patreon up and moving again.
Yeah,
and so. Look for more opportunities to engage with us on social media. So, for example, with the Instagram page, once we have it up and running, we'll probably have some call outs during some shows. Hey, tag us and show us, what you've been working on. And then you can tag on the Instagram page, and who knows, we may feature you. Also, too, we're going to be looking to get some, not just feedback, but also questions from you all out there. Things you want to hear. What do you want to know? What do you want us to talk about? What are some things of interest? And so that way, we can incorporate that into the shows going forward. So make sure you're engaged with us on social media. Look for all our call outs. We'll be asking for, what are you working on this week? Or, hey, what do you want to hear most about in the lore section? And that way we can work all that stuff out. So I'm really excited about, shifting to that social media engagement. I hope you all are too. I think it's going to be a way for us to really have a conversation about everything that we're talking about here instead of just us, yelling at you for an hour and a half.
Or in this case, probably 2 hours, but, or 3, or who knows?
Who knows?
Because we haven't even started Teclis yet.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh,
We're going to get there, though.
Yeah, we've got no real battle to talk about, so we're just going to skip that. I don't think anybody wants to hear about Crisis Protocol games and Star Wars Legion games, so we will skip that. Kind of glad we hit that Crimson Court thing, because, God, the Warhammer under models. Wow. Warhammer underwear models. No. The Underworlds models are just, it seems like that's where they go and stretch their legs and stretch their wings to see what they can get away with. And it's, every single one of those war bands is so amazing.
And they just get better as they go.
I know.
They really do. The design space is amazing. And again, we talked about earlier, like you want, when I talked about the narrative play, you want your models to mean something, and you want them to have some sort of purpose. And what you get with these is a story baked into them.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, here's 4 vampires. Like, no, here are 4 vampires with distinct personalities that have a purpose and a goal.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot easier to become engaged with that product. The Seraphon release is great too. I'm looking forward to the Savage Oryx one, to be honest. They look real fun and real goofy.
God, those are cool looking. It makes me wish Elric hadn't sold all of his stuff, because I might have bought the Iron Jaws just to have that in the back pocket. Okay, so shall we jump into the lore section?
I think so. I think this is where we're going to have a lot of fun, folks.
Yeah, it's going to be, we're not going to obviously spend the next 2 hours talking about the lore and the rules and all, but we're going to give a pretty decent overview of it, even though it's probably already out there. But here's our take on it. And I'd like to start off with the only downside that I have seen so far in both Marathi and Teclis. And that's the campaign section. And I think we both kind of agree that it's a very strange system to put in the books.
Yep.
It basically calls out for 2 players, and the X player needs to have 5 complete armies from different factions, and the other player needs 5 complete armies. And at some point, we're sitting there and we're looking at these scenarios that are in the campaigns, and they're like, you need 12 OCR Bone Reaper units. And most of my lists for 2,000 points don't even come close to 12 units.
Yep.
And it just makes me sit there and think, who are these scenarios aimed at? One of the things you were talking about is, when you have a Flesh Eater Courts army and you have to bring, 12? Or how many units was it?
So the one I was referring to is the 18 Legion of Night units, which is supposed to be the battle between Manfred and Nurgle.
And,
Like 18 Legion of Night units.
think about a board covered with skeletons or zombies, and there's no room to play the game, and I win.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, all right, so I have to deploy at the 50% mark because it's like this
Yeah, it's
particular
half and half,
battle plan,
yeah.
half and half. I don't think I can fit that many models on the board for 18 units. Are you kidding? I'd have to like min everything.
Yeah. But if you played like a jerk, you could basically fill the board with units and then just basically win on area denial.
Yeah.
Because you can't chew through that stuff fast enough.
And
Especially if you have necromancers behind it, bringing it back and then giving them the dance and saying, let's just go to it. And I don't care if you're giants. I don't care if well, of course, if you can't bring giants, but could you imagine that many zombies going up against a giant army?
I mean, man, I know the game's played in inches, but that game would be played in centimeters at that point. Like how close you are, like it'd be endless. Like they would never move.
Yeah.
Right. So if you parked a giant on top of something, I mean, maybe you'll win.
Oh my God. Anyway, we're getting way off.
Yeah.
The campaign system, it's just, I don't know. To me, it's not, and I don't want to say COVID friendly, but it's more along the lines of you have to have a club of people, a group of people to do that sort of scenario work that's in there. And without it, it won't work. I don't think okay, I'm sure there are tons of people that can put that out there. Again, you look at the scenarios and they just don't look that fun to play.
No, not at all. Some of the new rules are cool, but I just don't think it'd be a fun time.
No. So, I mean, that's enough harping on the bad. Because honestly, to be honest, in both Marathi and Teclis, and I'm sure with Bellicor, the campaign system is the only weak part of the book, I think.
Agreed.
Getting into Teclis, there's sort of a preamble where they introduce the new free city of Settlers Gain.
Yeah.
In the last book, we lost Anvilgard.
Yep.
So we've got to replace that with something.
Oh, of course.
And boy, did they replace it with something. Settlers Gain is, and spoiler alert, Settlers Gain is basically designed to bring a lot of the underused Cities of Sigmar units to the forefront and to get them into the people's heads, like the Luminarch, Celestial Hurricanum, the Wizards, a lot of the underused characters and things. However, it all ties into the story, and it's not just tacked on and said, oh yeah, and you have to buy these models. There's a lot of sense to it.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, if you're playing Cities of Sigmar, you're probably playing it because you had all this stuff from old times before Sigmar, the Age of Sigmar. So you probably have these Luminarchs. You probably have the Hurricanums. Hell, I have a Celestial Hurricanum. If I have it and I only got into this game when it was Age of Sigmar, then they're available. We go into Act 1. So the book is split into 3 acts, or the lore portion is split into 3 acts. And Act 1 is the War of Empires. And oh my God, does this just tickle it's both armies that I play, or want to play, Lumineth and Osiarchs.
Yep.
So, oh my God, do you want to do the overview of the lore, or do you want me to just kind of give a quick overview of the story?
Well, I think that I don't want to go past the preamble too quickly because
all right,
there's something hilarious in there when when they attack Settlers Gain, right? Just the long and short of that is, the Nighthaunt come and they just, start storming Settlers Gain, and it's, Nagash like, I'm going to go harvest some souls.
Yeah.
And, they're trying to fight back as best they could. And then, Teclis turns up, and he's kind of like, nah, man, this ain't going to fly. And particularly your horses aren't going to fly.
Yeah.
That scene had me rolling. So you have this this host of ghosts on steeds just rushing up towards Teclis, and he's kind of like, oh, by the way, I lift the curse and bring you back to life.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they can't fly anymore.
Yeah, oh, bummer.
And so I just imagine this would be like the most horrific thing. Like, forget the fact that there are these ghosts coming through the streets and just ripping people's souls and killing them. All of a sudden, it's raining horses and knights. Just, Oh my God.
Is that not? Oh man.
I can't even imagine, one, the damage it does to the city, and two, what that cleanup would be like.
Oh Jesus.
You know, I don't think there's anything really that's going to purge all that unless you just burn everything down.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much. It's raining horses and Kniggets is just not. It's an image that was hilarious to read. And when you think about what Teclis was thinking, how can I stop these guys? Well, I could make like a wall of fire, or I could make like a hurricane to blow them away, or I could just return them to life and just laugh.
Which, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he ever does that again, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, he's got this amazing power to literally strip the curse of undeath
off the legions of Nagash.
Turn them back into mortals, which I'm guessing probably would have helped you out if you did that.
What?
And
Yeah.
instead, you splat them and then forget about that spell ever again.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, especially when you're thinking, okay, just wait till a whole bunch of them are crossing through a wall because they're ethereal, and then just go boop, and all of a sudden all these people have materialized inside of a wall, instant dead.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's advanced physics, and we don't want to get into that because actually matter can't be displaced in that manner. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Teclis is a master physicist.
He is.
So he was thinking about that whenever he wasn't doing that.
He
right?
probably was. That's probably why he shied away from that spell.
So I mean that's sort of the spur, as it were.
Yeah.
That gets Teclis moving.
It kind of gives him a reason to go after Nagash, and kind of it sets up. And I think I mentioned this before we started recording. It sets up this kind of overarching, to me anyway, tone for the story, in that Teclis is like, no, we're going to go after this guy, if for no other reason than to bring hope to the mortal realms. And just remember that, because it's going to become big later. That idea of, we're just going to do this to give the people something, the little people, something to look at, hopefully.
Yeah.
Or with hope. No.
And that message of hope, is really everything that happens here as we move forward. I mean, he is engaging in some pretty tricky battles.
Yes.
But also at the same time, it's a symbolic or a moral battle. And I mean, that's just interspersed throughout the story. I won't go into like the exact details of it.
Right.
But everything is about showing that Nagash is not supreme.
Right. Yeah. And even in his hometown, this Nagash is all his Nagash is crap.
Yep.
And I mean, we all know that Nagash is nothing more than a windbag and clown shoes. But I mean, he does have a lot of power.
Yeah.
It cannot be mistaken that he is a supremely powerful deity figure. To have somebody actually walk up and knock him down. Well, we'll get to that. Spoiler alert.
I mean, I like that scene, where Teclis FaceTimes Nagash, and he's kind of like, hey, buddy, just so you know, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And Nagash, who always speaks in all caps, because he's raging on the internet all the time.
Oh,
right?
God, yeah. He shouts constantly.
Nonstop. And he's like, there's no way you're going to do that. And Teclis is like, watch it happen.
Uh-huh.
Right? And then, Nagash, because he's dismissive, because he thinks he's, the most powerful thing ever, just waves him away. And then Teclis engages in this campaign that's just awesome, like hit and run guerrilla tactics. I mean, he takes it into Shyish like almost right away and attacks, the one of the OBR strongholds, right?
Yeah, sure does.
That was a pretty fun scene there, where the three statues end up coming to life, and yeah. I mean, you got to read it for yourself. I mean, it's good writing. It's
kind of crazy in the fact that all throughout the lore, Nagash is always regarding Teclis as a godling, or, hey, remember when you were just, you were just a wizard with big boy shoes on. And it's kind of funny in that there's all these callbacks to the old lore pre Age of Sigmar, pre Mortal Realms, into the old world. But again, there's not so much that it turns you off, or it's like, I don't get that reference at all. He's just saying, he'll drop a little thing like, yeah, you remember when you treated your brother like absolute crap?
Yep.
So it's not like, well, I don't understand that reference. No, it's right there. Remember when you weren't very cool to your brother and now you've blinded him in this, back in the old world, you killed him, and in this world, you blinded him. So what makes you think you're so hot? And so there's enough of those old world references that if you're from that era, the Warhammer old fantasy era, you're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I remember that. Whereas if you're like me, who only got into this at Age of Sigmar, I mean, I kind of know what Teclis did. I read the end time stuff and what have you, and I read a lot of the lore stuff, but it's really, I don't feel like they're pandering to that old group, the ninth pagers and what have you. So, yeah, two things that I really thought were cool was that message of hope and that idea of here's all these throwbacks to the old world, but not so much that if you weren't around then, you're lost.
Yeah, I agree. I can't echo the old world stuff enough, because again, I came into this, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't like, oh, we've got this inside joke that you're not privy to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's written in a way that you understand it, right? And you actually feel how it attaches to the story and what it could mean. And to me, in a way, sort of whet my appetite, where I'm like, well, now I need to go back and see, not need to, but I want to go back and get context for that, which it's easy enough to do. I mean, I can do like a wiki search or something like that, or get some of the old books, and like that whet my thirst.
Yes.
Right. So I'm looking forward to going back and seeing some of that old lore to just tie that in, but it doesn't in any way as being new to it, as a reader, halt me in progressing through the story, which was really well done. Now, you brought up the stuff about hope, right? And how it's like shifting the narrative, right? And we were talking a little bit about this before the show, and you're saying like how you actually like that approach, in terms of changing how the narrative is structured.
Yes.
Why don't you go into that a little bit more?
Okay, so I have an issue, and honestly, we tried to do a show on the grimdark motif that exists all throughout the GW worlds. I have an issue with the constant grimdark in 40K and Age of Sigmar, where it's always this idea that no matter what you do, it's a temporary victory because chaos is going to come and wipe it out. And this idea that they might just be getting away from that a little bit, in that Teclis is doing something, and Settler's Gain is going to become a place. Obviously, from this book, it has become a place and a thing. And they have hope. They have this idea that maybe there is an end where we get to live a decent life, not under the threat of death constantly beating at our door and chaos constantly coming in to eat our lunches. And maybe there is hope. And what's really killing me about this is it's not Sigmar giving you that hope. It's Teclis. And where the hell is Sigmar in all of this? I swear to God. And, the next book we know is Bellicor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's not exactly a happy dude. I'm betting you that book is not going to be filled with good things happening to good people,
Oh yeah.
So I have to imagine that one of the books in this series is going to be Broken Realms, Sigmar, or maybe not, and they're going to move on kind of without the namesake character because he's just a clown-chewed idiot.
I mean, he's just a big beefcake in the sky who's too scared to come down and lose again. And I love that they switched to Teclis, who's doing this. I mean, like, sure, Sigmar's namesake is the game.
Yeah.
But I just really can't see too many instances where I'm personally, I just don't like the Stormcast Eternals, and I don't like Sigmar.
Right.
Anytime he takes an L, I'm happy. I like that they shift the focus there, because what has Sigmar ever really done to bring hope, right? Other than I've got these, my fellow beefcakes that I constantly reforge and send down
Yeah.
to defend you. This is something where it seems that Teclis isn't just trying to say, I'm going to have these awesome martial guys. What he's saying is, I'm going to lift the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring, the what might be considered the weakest of us up.
Yes.
And in a way, showing them that they can be just as strong.
That they can be a part of shaping the worlds, the mortal realms. And that to me is a huge, and I can understand why they started it with Teclis, because if that kind of thing doesn't hit the majority of people, and I could very well be in the minority in that I would like to see a little bit of hope in the mortal realms and 40K. Maybe everybody else likes the Grimdark and they don't like this kind of storyline. Now they're not locked into anything, and Teclis can just have a grand awakening and go, yeah, you're right. We just need to fight until we kill them all. And go back to just being normal Age of Sigmar or 40K, which is okay. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Grimdark. I'm just saying that with this constant 20 years of Grimdark, maybe we get something where there's a character who's actually really good and not just a shade of not as bad, but is actually good and makes moral decisions. So I don't know if everybody else wants to see it. I would like to see it. If not, then so be it.
Well, I think what it could do, too, for the narrative is bring, the hope and the despair into contention in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Right? Not in sort of like, oh, great, they're here to save the day, but it doesn't matter because, so-and-so has other machinations that are going to come back and affect us later on. Right. But to have like an ongoing discussion about, fighting back against, the despair that we otherwise feel.
Yeah.
Right? I think that could be really fun.
Yep, and it gives them new areas to explore, and it gives you new boundaries to not set. So, continuing on with Act 1, so what goes on basically here is Teclis and the Lumineth basically go into Shyish. I mean, they go into other places too, but a majority of it is to go into Nagash's hometown and say, you ain't all that.
Yep.
And it's not real easy because in the realm of death, unfortunately, death is king.
Yeah.
And so as things fall, you're giving bones to the bone reapers and you're giving raw materials to all the wrong people. So, I mean, basically death has got the upper hand. And I mean, their actual goal was not just to win the military victory. They weren't even sure it was possible when they went in there. Their goal was just to show that Nagash could be stopped and even pushed back. And he wasn't really all that everybody thought he was, and that the light could be shown into dark places, if you don't mind my quoting. So at the end of this act, the good guys are facing up against Osiarchs and Nighthaunt and everybody. Teclis gets a phone call from Elariel. And she's like, bro, I heard you were shy. Really? You think anything good's going to come of that? And I mean, it's kind of, there's a great bit of banter between Nagash and Teclis. And the conversation between Elariel and Teclis is well worth reading.
Oh, yeah.
I would say if you do nothing else, jump in and read that. But Elariel basically tells Teclis, you're on a fool's errand, and nothing good is going to come of this. And you're kind of ignoring the threat that's even greater than Nagash. And that ties into the fact, he's like, well, Tyrion's handling that.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, a threat greater than Nagash, the god of death. What in the hell could that be? So here's a question. And I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Is it Archaon? Is it worser?
Is it worser? I don't know. This is really veiled, right? In terms of what they could be referencing. I mean, we do know that, Archaon is a major threat to everything that they hold dear. Could it be something else? I mean, I don't know what it would currently be tangled up with at this time, unless it's something we're not going to find out till Kragnos or something, right?
Well, if you look at the timeline and how Teclis overlaps Marathi, this is about the time that Archeon is going to release Slanesh, has gone because Catacross is stuck in the 8 points. That's why Nagash doesn't have him with him, and Lady Alinder is there. So he doesn't have his 2 big new Mortarks, and he's stuck with the 3 old clown shoe Mortarks.
3 Stooges.
Yeah. So this time frame, that's the only thing to me that ties it together, is the time frame is Tyrion is trying to go and see what Archeon is up to with Slanesh.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know if it was in Marathi or in this book, but there's one part where Teclis goes to deal with, that happening, and before he can like get to Archeon or what have you, that's when Catacross attacks, and Archeon's like, "Damn it, guys! Now I got to go handle this." And that's when he flies back, and then the Teclis is freed up for the other things.
Yep.
I don't know, man.
Super cool.
Oh yeah. Wrath of the Ever-Chosen, like, not to go too far back in time, but when he rolls up on the 8 points, just full rage, it's like raining blood, and he just massacres. I was fanboyed up right there.
It's hard to not get, I've got to build a Chaos Army right now when you read that. It's, oh my God.
I need Archeon. I need him, professionally painted. And I need that full army Varangard running next to him, everything.
Someone quickly buy me 15 Varangard and paint them up because I want to play them.
Someone have $500 and about, 20 hours on their hands.
Oh, geez, yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. We've kind of wrapped up Act 1. We'll move on to Act 2 after we get some vittles down our neck. All right, so we just finished lunch, and it's time to kick into Act 2 of the lore. Oh, wow. Unfortunately, this one, it kind of is not written as well as 1 and 3. Almost like it was a different person doing it, and maybe very well might have. But man, has it got some great... Well, go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in terms of the 3 acts, it's probably the weakest. But really, I think we should just get into it and set the stage for it. That way, our comments are through that lens. Yeah. So really what this is, Nagash, has like a Google Meet with, 3 of his Mortarks. We got Manfred, Neferata, and Archon.
Yeah, the old group.
Yeah, So he's telling the 3 Stooges that they got to go out and essentially enact these what seem to be complex rituals, in the various places he wants them to, and try and essentially corrupt these realm gates to let death magic into the world, right? So he sends them, to their respective planes. So let's see, you got Manfred to Gyron.
Yeah, Manfred went to Gyron. Neferata went to Shamal.
Yep.
Shamal.
And Arkan went to Hish.
Wow. Talk about who just attacked me. It was that dude from Hish. You there on horseback. Go to Hish. Wow.
Right? I mean, he's obviously, going to try and send a message there and be like, hey, guess what? I can.
Oh, my.
Be back.
Yeah, I will.
So I think that, let's start with Manfred, I think.
Yep.
So Manfred goes to what is called the was it Gate of Blood or something?
Bleeding Gate.
Bleeding Gate. That's right.
Gate.
Yeah. He goes to Bleeding Gate and he has to enact this ritual. And right away he's like, guess what? There's a lot of Nurgle around here.
Yeah. And who's there leading the whole thing? My boy, Rodigus.
Horticulus factors into this because his garden's right there.
Yep.
So Manfred's idea is like, well, I've got to do this ritual and I've got, these armies. So I'm going to go ahead and split my forces and engage Nurgle on 3 fronts.
Awesome idea.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's fairly obvious he knows he's not going to win that. He's just trying to stall.
Yeah, he's not there for the fight. He's there for the ritual.
Yeah, which, I mean, ultimately he fails to do, but he seemed to want to fail.
No, Manfred?
Manfred,
No
right?
way.
He doesn't have any other plans or anything in the works.
He's totally loyal to Nagash.
100%. So you have these, fights with Rodigus, fights with the Horticulus.
Oh God.
And then, it's Gyron, and you're messing around with things that, maybe Alariel has a stake in.
Manfred is Manfred, no matter. And what I like is they did not try to write him differently than he has always been. He's an egotistical idiot.
Yep.
He just plays right into that again.
He totally does. And, I feel like it's one of those things your boss gives you a task and you're like, I really don't want to do this. But, if I get it done quickly enough, either, successfully or not, I can go home sooner.
That's right.
And go do the things I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Like take over Neferata's lands. It's a colossal failure on his part. But interestingly enough, in this Act 2, this was probably the most enjoyable part for me.
Yeah.
His character was the most consistent.
Yes.
And I love Nurgle. Like Nurgle shows up and it's usually a good time.
It's going to be funny and there's going to be some good one-liners and yeah.
I mean, we'll get to it after we go through the lore and the acts, but the new Nurgle rules. So happy.
Oh my God, yes. Brilliant new set of rules.
Oh yeah. I mean, giving Sloppity Bilepiper and Spoilpox Scrivener some actual meat on their bones.
Some real reason to be alive and to make the Thricefold Befoulment. All of a sudden, if those two are there, the Thricefold Befoulment is now a thing. And God, I cannot wait to try it because I have all of that painted. Yes, I cannot wait to try that one.
Oh yeah. We'll talk more about that when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, all in all, again, not the best written part of all this, but it was good to see Manfred be consistent with his character. Yeah. Good to see Alariel actually do something for the first time.
Yeah, to come out and actually take an active part in Gyran. And, I thought it was kind of funny that Manfred has this thing where he tries to use death magic on Alariel, and it just simply doesn't work. And for a moment, he's like, "Haha, I am Manfred. I am Von Karstein. I have all this power at the..." Oh, crap. You're a goddess, aren't you? Oh, well, my bad. It's just, wow, Manfred, you are such a clown show. But we can count on you to be that guy all the time. So, God bless him.
Oh, yeah. No. I definitely enjoyed that little foray.
Yeah, that little... I think the Neferata one was a little... It almost felt rushed.
Yes.
Is that? Yeah, okay. I was wondering if you got that too.
I felt that same way. We're kind of commenting on this during the break when we were talking, Bill, but, it's the whole thing where Nagash and, his cronies just are always undermined by small races,
Yes. It's, they're always looking at this big macro view and they're looking at, this 100,000-foot view of the world, and they forget that there's rats that chew through stuff. Yeah. And there's little people that, wow, that was very, very, wow, that was wrong on so many levels. Yeah, it's, they miss the obvious signs that things are going wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the setup, I would say, for Neferata seemed to be more assured to actually, succeed, right? So she gets this realm gate in a mountain.
Yeah, I actually thought she'd do it.
I did too.
So
I did too. And she uses a whole bunch of subterfuge and manipulation to try and keep the KO ships from coming around the area in Shimon. And, she was succeeding. And apparently this ritual takes really long time. So then you have, this little upstart admiral who's got, a tiny little fleet. I think she had one frigate.
Yeah.
And, so
she's gun haulers,
couple gun haulers and a frigate.
Yeah.
It wasn't very big,
Mm-mm.
but she was an avid cartographer. And so she would look at the maps and be like, why is no one flying over here? Oh, look, you have one person who happens to be curious, and ultimately results in Neferata's plans being undermined. So then, this little admiral's like, let's go find out. Maybe there's money in it for us, right? So she flies on over there, and she sees this little skeleton outside of a cave, and it skitters back in. We should probably figure out what's going on down there.
Yeah.
She and some of her company pop out. They go in and almost all of them die a horrible death.
Oh, it's so.
And so, what was her name? Barra's daughter, right? That's her
Yeah.
name. So she gets away, but she like aged like dramatically, didn't
Yeah.
she? Well, she gets away and she goes back and she finds these twin elves, drinking, which apparently
Oh, no.
isn't very common.
No.
So tells him what's happened, and then the new Lumineth Realm Lord twins,
Elithor and Alania? Elithor and Alania.
beautiful model,
Oh, gosh.
beautiful model.
Totally.
They're like, whoa, what is happening?
Wait, we're interested in this.
Yeah,
Slow down and start from the beginning.
they realize there's no time to waste.
Yep.
So they haul over there as quickly as possible and engage Neferata.
Yeah.
And man, that fight was cool.
It was, that was a very well scripted kind of fight. But again, it felt like it was rushed. It felt like we spent all this time with Manfred and our page count was too high on that. So we had to chop off a lot of this. So I don't know. It just gave me that impression. I could be dead wrong. Probably am. But I just felt like they rushed that whole fight with Neferata.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the way that, they had the twins rush over, is
Mhm.
almost like, exemplary of how rushed this was. It was kind of cool. The spirit of the mountain turns up and he's like, no, screw this. Smash your ritual. And then Neferata being just, I don't know, bitter as all get out and having planned for this, it sounds like.
Yes.
It's like, I'm going to collapse the mountain on you guys later.
Yeah.
Yeah. She gets away. Everyone's crushed. Then she's gone.
Yep.
All right, so the 0 for 2 at this point.
Oh, yeah, 0 for 2.
And so it's looking like it's going to fall to Archon to see if he can do anything, in particular, whether or not he can actually follow, his master's plans. So Archon's like, all right, cool. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into Hish, and we're going to come out of this realm gate that takes us to a mountain where, the OBR can't really fight that well.
Yes.
They are lockstep, phalanx formations. And he comes in, Illumineth Realm Lords are like, whoa, we know how to fight here. So, they engage. It doesn't go well for Archon.
Oh.
And he has to run away. But he's like, no, I'm not going to fail. So instead of coming back through that gate, he goes to another gate.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes out, was near the edge of the realm, correct? Where like a lot of the light magic is super potent.
Yes.
And he gets to meet, well, I wouldn't say a familiar face because there's no more face.
Wow.
But he may have recognized the armor.
He probably did because he killed him once. Oh, my God.
So, and we were talking about this. It feels like this battle between, Archon and the Light of Eltharion was just, again, kind of rushed and vague.
Yeah, and this is a huge battle that was set up in the old world when Arcan won the last iteration of this fight. And I expected, as soon as you saw this thing setting up, I was like, oh God, ding, ding, round 2. It's on. And then it was over. And I was like, oh my gosh. However, the impact of it being over is huge. Oh.
It really is. I mean, well, we get like 2 pages on this fight, right?
Yep.
I mean, the end was kind of cool in how it was described.
Oh, yes.
Eltharion just, essentially bodies him, like it just wrecks him. And it didn't even seem like it was a fair fight, the way I was reading it.
No, actually, I don't think it was. I think it was purposely written to be, this was not the old fight. This is, I've moved forward. I've progressed into something different. You're still just Arcan the Black.
Yep.
And you don't have a hope. And he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yeah, so he gets cast into nothingness, and even his steed is no more, according to the lore there.
Yeah, he gets pushed. Well, Eltharion just basically stabs him in the chest, just impales him completely. And then he falls over the edge of the realm. They're that close to the flat earth, if you will. And yeah, he falls off, and then there's this, he falls into the light of nothingness, and there's a big explosion, and every shred of Arcan is gone. Mm-hmm. And I personally was kind of sad.
Were you?
Being a death player, Arcan was always the one who, even though he was stupid loyal to Nagash, he always kind of had his own game, and he wasn't as dumb as Manfred, and he wasn't as vain as Neferata. And, when they did the new Mortarks, Lady Olinder and Catacross, they were purpose-built for their factions. So they weren't nearly as, clown shoe. They don't have that kind of history behind them yet. Yeah. Arcan was always the guy who was just stupid loyal to Nagash, but had enough side stuff going on that he wasn't just in lockstep. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of, I don't know, I've always liked him. He almost, to me, had like his own mind, but he was a little too mindlessly loyal. And to see him die now makes me wonder about all those Legion of Nagash armies that are like, but I need his magic. Oh, you're so screwed. So
yeah. So that'll be the errata, right, when they release Soul Blight.
Oh, can you imagine if they do something like Arcan can't be taken at any Legion of Nagash? Oh no.
That would be a problem for a lot of folks because they want to play with their toys.
Oh my God! Yeah, we know that won't happen, and we know all this stuff is simply temporary.
I mean, it always has to be, right?
Of course,
you can't kill death.
No,
they always come back. And as a death player too, if that were to happen, say for a period of time, Arcan wasn't playable. You just play as Flesh Eater Courts, and your Ghoul King thinks he's Archon the Black.
I love it.
And he leads the Legion. That's how it works, right? There's always a way to play with your toys.
Yeah, always.
So you have the Three Stooges, fail at their tasks.
Yep, all three fail.
So then, looks like Nagash's plans didn't quite go as he had hoped. But then we move into Act 3 from there.
Oh, my God.
This is what was promised. This is where the title fight is, and I gotta say it comes together so well.
This is probably, with the exception of some of the books, this is probably the best written section of lore I have ever seen in Age of Sigmar, and there's been some really good ones, but this one is just, the pacing is right, and the story is so overarchingly good that it just sucks you in, and you cannot stop reading it. It's so good. So anyway, let's move on to the rules then.
Yeah, it was such an enjoyable section to read, especially coming out of Act 2.
Yeah.
Kind of like, there were certain parts when I was reading Act 2 where I'm like, wait, what happened? Mm-hmm. And I had to go back and reread it,
And do I even care to keep going?
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of points I reached that I'm not sure I want to struggle through this because it's not. And, Act 3 it's the happy ending. It's the, probably #2's in there.
It brings you back in, right? It brings you back
sucks you back in a big, and it sets up really all the changes in the new rules section. So this starts a couple of months after the end of Act 2. Nagash has licked his wounds, and he's mad at his Mortarks. But he finally kind of gets this whole thing of, you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Mm-hmm. I am going to Hish. And you know what? That Teclis fool wants to come after me. Come at me, bro. He gathers a large force of death. Probably the largest in a long time. Probably even bigger than the stuff that went to the 8 points.
Yeah.
Because that was pretty much limited to Olinder's stuff and Catacross' stuff. So the Bone Reapers and some of the Night Haunt. Whereas this is like all the legions of Nagash are going to Hish. And it's not good for Ymetrica. It's not good for the home team.
No.
because he's bringing so much death. This is surely a case of hell's coming, or he's coming and hell's coming with him.
Yep.
Because boy, do they win and start winning and snowball their wins, because as death wins battles, they get stronger. There's more dead and there's more bones and there's more raw materials. So, Nagash has got to be feeling, pretty, he got game, he knows he can still, I can play this general game. I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does himself turn up, which ends up being a problem for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things real quick, I just thought was a funny little note, because how, death doesn't really regard the flesh eater courts that well.
Right.
You have the one part where the OCRs are running out of bone.
Yes.
So they just start taking it from the flesh eater courts.
Oh, God, that is so messed up.
I mean, it was just like, I read that part and I wasn't surprised, but it's still just kind of like, oh, so they did that, didn't they?
That was a crappy move. I can understand it, but God, you're jerks.
Yeah, dick move, OBR.
Yeah, big time dick. Now, there's an interesting side journey in this section of the lore. It's almost visible that they kind of, as the battle is unfolding, they sort of make this side trip to a campaign that is in White Dwarf number 461. Follow me for the link. It's almost like they meant to put the link in the book, but they couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yep.
And then they come back to Act 3. So it's not like this horrible diversion. But if you have White Dwarf 461, 4-2 before this one. So yeah, if you have that White Dwarf, there is they were doing flashpoints for 40K. Well, they're doing these, it's actually in there too. There's a flashpoint for Broken Realms, and you can kind of diverge and play that as your campaign system, which I think would be way better off than trying to follow the one in the book. So it's a nice, I think at the end or somewhere along the writing, they realized that the campaign systems so far in the books haven't been really approachable in a smaller environment that we have now, where we can't get 6, 8, 10 people together to fight these fights. So let's do it in a way that we can. And so, yeah, I thought it was a really interesting diversion into a White Dwarf article and then come back to the main story. But yeah, when the Flesh Eater courts, when they beat up on the OBR and they finish that one off, things start to go downhill for Nagash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just a little bit. Because the Flesh Eater courts do end up in a big fight. And I think it's called the Charnel Kingdom in 461. And when the Flesh Eater courts win that fight and the OCR Bone Reapers are cut off from their big bone supply, it's what keeps the OBR in business. And if you cut them off from their bones, they got no bones.
Yeah.
No bones about it. It's just way too many bad references.
I mean,
Sorry.
they'll have a leg to stand on then, right?
Yeah, I get it. No bones. Oh, God.
Come for the content, stay for the jokes.
That's right. I can finally do puns on my own podcast because Mr. Anti-Pun isn't here. During this act, it initially looks like Teclis and Tyrion aren't coming. Tyrion, we know, is busy. And since the time frames are happening simultaneously, we know kind of Teclis is out dealing with the 8 points. We're all scared. Go ahead, take it away.
Right, yeah. So Nagash comes in here, and he just pulls such a dick move and just starts, stomping on, was it Velenor's mountain, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, when I was reading that, I just had a flashback to the Chappelle show when Rick James is on Charlie Murphy's couch and just rubbing all the dirt on it. Like, he came over and just it's almost insulting. He's just like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I'm stepping all over your spirit.
Yeah.
And now he's a pile of clay. What are you going to do about it?
Oh, you silly Nagash.
And of course, the Lumineth aren't going to just stand by and watch this happen. Right?
Not in their own house,
Definitely not.
you know?
And I mean, they have no real like hope of beating Nagash, right?
No.
But Teclis isn't there. They're just like, well, we got to try.
Yeah.
We got to try.
And they, Nagash has done the dumbest thing you can possibly do to an enemy army on their home turf. He's actually given them something to fight for.
Yep.
He's given them an idea and something to rally around. You were winning. Don't be a jerk. Just go win. But that's not Nagash.
No.
We know he's the clown shoes. Let's move on. And yeah, he gave him something to rally around. And once that happened, oh boy, things go downhill for the boy.
They do. They do. And, finally, Teclis shows up. I mean, goodness.
Again, I think it's going to go back to the plot armor thing.
Yeah.
He showed up kind of when he needed to show up, literally.
Yes.
Because words are hard. It sets up that fight between Teclis and Nagash is so well set up with the dialogue and with the little running comments going back and forth. Oh my God. Oh, it is so... when the battle starts, and there's a little bit of a lead up to the fight between Nagash and Teclis, of more of Nagash thinking that he's so far superior. Meanwhile, Teclis is just a little godling. Nagash has thousands of years more of experience in fighting. At a certain point, Nagash just reaches out, grabs Teclis by the throat, slams him up against the mountain, and is about to snuff him out.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens?
It's really interesting how, there's a lot of really cool fighting up to this point, right? And I think the thing that sets Nagash off to that point where he gets that angry that he's trying to hand of dust Teclis is Teclis burns the books of Nagash.
Which is awesome.
Oh,
I mean, it is, first of all, the impact that it's going to have going forward, but also it's so cool the way... Oh, man.
They just erupt in light, and like these are significant. These are the books that like allow Nagash to do his Nagashi things.
Yeah.
Right. And it's when that happened, I was like, I did not think they would go there.
I never saw that coming.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can beat him down and, you can kill him. You can't kill gods. He's just going to come back. But to sit there and start stripping him of the things that make him powerful. Because remember, keep in mind, Nagash started out as nothing more than a sorcerer. Mm-hmm. And he only got to be Nagash by gathering all these artifacts that he carries around with him. So you start taking that stuff away from him, there's going to be some problems.
And certainly there were.
Oh, yeah.
Nagash is very unhappy about that.
Slightly.
And I maybe we could talk a little bit later about what we think that might mean going forward. Mm-hmm. But this is, sets him off. And so he's going to try and just, kill Teclis right there.
Yeah, he's going to snuff him out of existence.
And it's fairly apparent, that Nagash is, martially speaking, far superior to Teclis.
Yes.
But Teclis was able to gain a tool that we talked about earlier that Nagash could not expect.
Yep.
Well, they go into, like, Teclis takes him into the void.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, oh, God, if we stay here, Nagash is going to just wreck everything.
Yeah, he's going to rain hell on Settlers Gain. He's going to rain hell everywhere.
So let's get out of here. I'm going to try and, minimize the damage. It's maybe a little too telling of me as an anime nerd, but it reminded me of like this old anime X 1999, where like whenever these people clash with these demonic entities, they would create like this fake reality that they would exist in that would not affect the other reality. And that's where they're, having their slap fight.
Yeah.
Until, Nagash grabs him by the throat. And what Teclis has to do to not die is essentially go into this like pure meditative state.
Yep.
To sustain himself. But in the meantime, he can't keep him in the nothing.
Right.
So then they pop back into reality.
Yay.
And, things had changed during the time that they were in nothingness, didn't they, Bill?
Just a little.
So this is one of the coolest parts, that I think happened here is, so while they were gone, the battle was still raging.
That's right. Yeah.
It wasn't going to stop.
The battle between the regular forces, the cities of Sigmar, the everybody that was gathered to fight and throw back Nagash in Hysh is going on. And the Osiarch Bone Reapers, they may have been cut off from their bone supply. They're not resupplying, but they still have a sizable force. And yeah, but it's not going well for them because they're not playing on their home turf anymore.
No, they aren't. And
they're getting their butts kicked.
There's more reinforcements to start showing up. I mean, I think this is where the Huracan really start to feature, right? The spirits even.
Yeah.
So they turn up and they're battling. And during the time that Nagash and Teclis were in this nothing realm, the battle swayed towards the Lumineth.
Yes.
And so, like, OBR is being routed. So they pop back into existence. And this is where, for really the first time that, and I've seen it in my short time in this game, where the believers of the god have a direct effect on the god's strength and their ability to fight.
Yes.
Right? So Nagash pops in, most of his dudes are gone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Teclis has everyone there, rallying and cheering.
And they have the upper hand.
Yep. And this changes everything.
Yeah.
Changes everything. With the little bit of help from some laser guns.
Well, the lasers are always good.
So Settlers Gain, right, who was at the very beginning, I feel like they finally were able to clean up all of those horses and knights, and they're like, all right, now that that's done, let's go help.
It was raining cats and dogs and horses and knights. Now we've got her all cleaned up, and they're going to break it again. Oh,
so they see this fight. They're like, no, we can't do this, right? Teclis has shown us that we can stand up to this monster.
And he's helped us. He has tangibly helped us.
So they roll in with, their wizards and their laser guns, and they just start blasting.
The Collegiate Arcane and the Luminarchs and the, what's his names? Celestial Huracanums.
Yep.
Everybody just aims at Nagash and says, fire for effect.
Yep.
Holy crap. Wow.
So 1 second, Nagash has the upper hand, about to snuff Teclis out, and the next thing he knows, he crashes to the ground.
Yeah. Teclis is able to, all these things of light that are coming at Nagash, he's able to summon up all the ether quartz that's around in the area, and he focuses it all on just one big death ray.
Yep.
Blasts Nagash into, well, wherever people like him go,
So Nagash's physical form, that really sweet model that we've had for, a few years, is just completely destroyed.
Yes.
And
finally.
they describe it as, like whatever his spirit like howls back to Shy-ish, just whips out of there. Because, of course, he's not going to die.
No.
Right. But this was such a critical blow to the forces of death. And as we talked about earlier, it changed the narrative to where hope could be a focus, right?
Yep.
And this is where we see that Settlers Gain, as that city came in under, what Teclis was able to do, and not only helped him survive, but helped him win.
Yes. And they were the major reason that he won. And, you can say that Teclis kind of set this up by showing up here and defending this place and then sort of maneuvering the battle to take place in this area. But at the same time, the people actually had to win the fight on the ground and then be smart enough and engaged enough to go, hey, the god is fighting. We should help him out. Let's just give him some raw material to work with.
Yep.
And yeah, to me, that was, this has been the culmination of something I've wanted to see for a long time. Just like you said, the people had an effect on a god fight.
Yep.
And mortals had a direct impact on what the gods were able to do. And that is huge. I think that's huge going forward. Just the fact that Nagash has lost his books. He's lost his physical form if he really even needed it. But he's also just gotten another in a long line of ass whippings that he has well deserved.
Oh, yeah.
But this, again, at the hands of a god, and he has, again, I'll say it again. If Sigmar walks in and says, hey, bro, I'll help you get your shit back together again, because, you just have to throw in with me for a while, I'll kill him. I swear to God, I will fly to England and find the dude and hurt them. Because, Sigmar has done it so many times.
Uh-huh.
And Nagash has stabbed him in the face so many times. I don't say the back, because you don't have to do that with Sigmar. He's too dumb to see what you're doing to him right in the front. So you can just stab him in the face. And I don't want to see that from this. At the same time, something's got to pick up Nagash. You can't have the god of death just being a doofus. He is a doofus, but you can't have him being that weak.
Right, we're just sort of like in the fetal position in a corner crying for, who knows how long.
Yeah, and the problem is in the Nagash model, one of his abilities is the 9 books.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, we can play the game, but you can't use those because lore-wise, they're not there.
Right. Yeah, so we're playing narrative, not competitive.
Exactly.
And so you can't use Nagash's physical body.
Yeah. I'll use a 25 millimeter base and go, this is Nagash.
Right.
It's got nothing on it because he's really,
What I'm excited from that, so we have Nagash's physical form being torn asunder and him being banished back to Shyish without his books. So who knows how long it's going to take for him to reform.
To get power back, yeah.
Archon's gone.
Granted, he's created from the thought of Nagash in the mortal realms, but does he have the power now to rethink Arcan back into existence?
Does he even have the power to bring himself back into physical existence at this point without his books?
I don't know.
Right? With all of his, how did Teclis refer? Like stolen elf magic?
Yeah. That's it. Those books were all stolen from the elves of old. So,
makes me wonder, did he have copies? Did he have someone like transcribe them?
I would hope so, but he's not the brightest guy.
Yeah.
Zinch would have had copies.
Yeah. Zinch may have copies too.
He probably does, yeah.
They're probably somewhere. But this leaves such a power vacuum in death. And I think that's why Soul Blight's so well poised now. Because, the vamps were sort of like, we ran the show. Nagash turns up and they're like, crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's stronger than us. We don't really like it, but it is what it is. Now you have, are we going to have a civil war with, Manfred and Neferata? Because they're still in existence, right?
And that's, to me, the way this is written, it gives them the freedom to take each one of the death factions and literally go their own way without falling under Nagash's grand plan.
Yep.
So OBR can now do what they want to do. And it wouldn't surprise me if right after this, Catacross looks at the 8 points and says, this does nothing for me. I'm out. We're out. See ya.
Yep.
I don't need to be killed by these chaos guys repeatedly to hold something that doesn't help me in the least.
Yep.
And same thing with Lady Olinder. She's like, I'm here because Nagash sent me here to help you. If you're not here, there's no point in me being here. Well, let's go home.
Yeah.
And so now the Night Hunt can do what they want to do. The OBR can do what they want to do. Flesh Eaters always did what they want. But now, like you said, the Soul Blight, which is, the next thing we got on the horizon, they're not going to be tied into some grand plan. And under the thumb of Nagash, I think we could see some serious civil war action between Manfred and Neferata. It's the stage is set. Arcan's not there to wager and broker a peace and to get them fighting in the same. They'll just go off and do their own things.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Manfred already established he's making a move on Neferata, right? And, Neferata's not going to take too kindly to that. So I could see some very interesting stuff, like it could even be, I'm just totally speculating, in the book, you've got their 2 separate factions, but like they are diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
Because like at this point, I mean, really, like, it was because of Nagash that those two even worked together, quote unquote. Now they're going to be able to go off and do their own thing. And I want that. I want to see this happen. I want to see, because that's the thing about Death for the longest time is it's just been everything as Nagash says.
It's homogenized, kind of. And that's not something that's fun, or it is. I mean, because you don't, at the game table level, you don't have to worry about it. But from the lore level, you're always like, well, this fight really doesn't matter because it's just someone else pulling the strings. Mm-hmm. No, I want to see Manfred. I want to run a death army where Manfred's going out to take land. Yeah. He's going out there to take property. Mm-hmm. And, I'll build the terrain for it. Sure. I mean,
Totally.
Manfred's a dude. I'll hook him up.
Yeah.
I never liked Nephrata that much, but Manfred, he's sort of a complete and total jerk, but he's fun.
I mean, with him, you get what you get. Like what you see is what you get, I should say, right?
Yes.
You're like, he's totally going to be that guy. It's predictable, though you can't necessarily predict his plot. You know he's going to be doing something, and that sort of like epitomizes what the vamps do. It seems like in this storyline. One thing I'm really interested in is seeing how Curse City ties into all of it, because that storyline is becoming, as I'm progressing through it in the books and everything, very interesting, and it seems like it has major implications beyond the city based off what Radakar's doing. And so I am so curious to see if maybe the things that were coming to light in Curse City have something to do with maybe what we hear what Tyrion's going on to fight.
Yes.
Right? Or, the thing that's greater than Nagash that's on the horizon. I mean, any of these things could lead to that. I mean, it could also be, related to Kragnos, and Resurgence of Destruction. But I really want to see Curse City's storyline bleed into the overall story.
A bigger thing. And that's the thing, is that the obvious choices for the bigger thing that's being fought by Tyrion, it's obvious to say Archaon. It's obvious to say Slaanesh. There's some very obvious. I would like to see it be something completely different, completely new. Like maybe it is the buildup of destruction, the massive amounts of orcs and the big wad that's coming. I mean, who knows? It could be, you could throw anything at me right now and I'd be super happy because they're doing such a good job with these books. Uh-huh. And we know Be'lakor is the next book. It's sitting right here. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's the thing Teclis is out there fighting. I mean, Be'lakor's big, but I don't think it's that. I think it's going to be something we haven't seen before.
I'm hoping so. Because obviously with Broken Realms, they are looking to shake up the world, right? I mean, they showed at the beginning of Age of Sigmar, they weren't afraid to go like, hey, old world, boom.
Hey, you're out of here.
And so, we just had, in 40K, the shake up with Psychic Awakening, which led into 9th edition. With these Broken Realms, it's practically the same thing. And I want to see world-changing events, which means we need something different.
And we need catalysts for change. And they're finally giving us that. I always sit there and yank Sigmar's chain because I kind of look at him as Fat Thor right now. He's just, he's not a factor right now. And to me, that's kind of a good thing because he's stale and he's old and he needs to be revamped. Stormcast Eternals, they're stale and they're old and they need to be revamped. And the Cities of Sigmar force structure that allows, every 4th unit to be a Stormcast is watering them down to the point of they're just basically allies for other armies that are actually powerful. Mm-hmm. And that's sad.
Yeah.
And I still maintain that the last book in this series is going to be Broken Realms Sigmar. And he's either going to come out swinging that freaking hammer like a god should and do something like a god should, or he's going to just go off into the universe and whimper some more with his little dragon buddy, which I don't think they're going to do. But when you look at the content of these books and how willing they are, if you had, before I read this book, if you had asked me what could kill Archon and make him go away, I looked at you and said, no, his plot armor's too thick. He's going to be fine. Nothing's going to kill him. If you had said, hey, who do you think can take down Nagash? I'd be like, any soldier with a sword can kill Nagash because he's that stupid. But it's not going to affect him because there's nothing to it. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, we're in a world, or a lower world, where Nagash has seriously gotten his head beat in. Mm-hmm. Arkan is dead. Alariel is freaked out about something bigger than all of this. And you're just like, oh, God, give me more.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And I don't know if we touched on it, but the whole thing with Teclis and Lariel, when they had their second conversation, is that what it was? But when they where he says essentially like, girl, you're playing with things that you don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, and so Alariel's making moves.
Yeah.
So we don't, I mean, it's not clear what she's doing, but she's trying to make her own money moves. And I'm excited to see that too, because she's kind of been irrelevant for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really, I mean,
yeah,
it was like to the point where like I got her model. I put together the Beetle because that thing is sick.
Oh God, yes.
And then I was about to put her together and I was like, I stopped caring. I still have it sitting there ready to be put together. And so I'm like, GW, make Alariel relevant for me again. Give me that I need to get her finished and get paint on that model.
Toward the very end, she says, there will be a backlash of life. And I'm just like, okay, what the hell does that mean? And you're just like, I mean, those two phone calls between Teclis and Alariel, they very, very purposefully use those as literary devices to ponder the questions that we all want to know the answers to going forward. Mm-hmm. And the just open-endedness of those questions is, oh God, it's wonderful.
It is. And it makes sense how she could say something like that, because death, in a way, keeps everything in check.
Yes.
Right? And so without, the powers of death, that were there, at play, it's not going to keep some things in check.
No.
Which could be anything from massive amounts of orcs, or destruction running rampant. It could mean that, certain aspects of chaos start running rampant too. It's just like all the things that like it held in place and created a balance for are just
wiped away.
Yep.
And when you see life striking back, I mean, that could mean anything from Nurgle to, like you said, destruction to, I mean, when things are out of balance, it's bad. Mm-hmm. It's really bad. And this victory that Teclis may have just won may actually turn out to be really, really bad for the mortal realms in a good way, because it's going to give us somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I just freaking love it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to postulate. Mm-hmm. If the story was cut and dried, you wouldn't be able to postulate what's coming next. Mm-hmm. In this case, you could say anything about what the next big evil is that's coming, and you couldn't be wrong until the book or the print hits us. You're not wrong. So, thank God.
I mean, there's so many ways they can go with this, including adding additional, armies, right? Things we haven't seen before. I mean, obviously, like based off seeing Kragnos, he almost looks like what was that stuff on Forge World? Heroes of Azergoth or something like that. Azergoth. And those aren't available on Forge World anymore.
Gee. Huh. Weird.
Could be foreshadowing. But anyway, it'd be cool to see that, come into plastic, be something you can play, because, GW is going to get my money.
Oh, yeah.
Do that.
If I could just make an allotment and then get everything, I would do it.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Except that it would make Anders happy, and I don't want to do that.
But also make you happy, too. So
That's
it's
true.
just weird.
I got to do it.
One thing, we didn't actually talk about quite yet. We can't forget that when Teclis beat Nagash, the Necroquake ended.
Yes. What does that mean for endless spells?
I'm wondering.
I mean, I know 2 plus tough asked, Doug asked that question.
Mhm.
You know, does this mean the wandering endless spells are gone? Are we going to see something different? Maybe this is a way for them in 3.0 to rein in the endless spells. I mean, I don't mind saying I've always kind of felt like the endless spells were a little over the top,
Mhm.
and they were a mechanic that was they were a solution looking for a problem.
Uh-huh.
And where some endless spells are really useful in some factions where they don't have that kind of spell ability or they don't have the kind of movement shenanigans, they can sort of add it with this. I think it also opens up this can of now we've just added this exponential problem of play testing where we can't possibly play every combination of army and spell and this and that and see if it has a disastrous effect. And I mean, I don't think it's out there. I don't think there's any really serious unbalancing combos. We'd see them by now. But also going forward, it limits you in what races and what new things you can add, because if you add a new race for destruction, let's say,
Yeah.
you want to make them as cool as possible, otherwise people won't buy them. But you can't give them the rules you want because there's an endless spell that if it works together with that, it becomes incredibly powerful. So now you have to either errata the endless spell or you have to make this new force weaker, and you don't want to do that. I mean, maybe it's a chance for them to rein in the endless spells a little bit and sort of catch that Pandora's box and start stuffing shit back into it. You know.
I mean, I don't think that they're going to tell people they can't play with their toys, right? So I think the endless spells are going to stick around, but I'm interested to see how they resolve it.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a big question. And I agree that some endless spells are kind of cancerous, in terms of how they actually affect the game.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that Seraphon get their bounded spells and you don't get to touch my toys.
Yeah.
Right? Which just feels like one of the most Seraphon things. But, it's, there are some problems with the game. I think they're at least fun to paint.
Mm-hmm.
They're really cool. I like how the Suffering Grey Tide actually plays in Cursed City.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how they're trying to, and I think the Purple Sun works in there too.
Yeah, I think so.
So they're able to bring all of these things in and use them in multiple ways. That's fantastic.
Yep, they're awesome devices.
Yeah. But, one of the things that hits me is like Doc just had their endless spells come out, right?
Yes.
And if they were going to like truly curtail them, with AOS 3.0,
yeah,
I don't know if they
wouldn't nearly be as good.
Yeah. And God, that snake model is just one of the coolest things. I want to kit bash that thing 1,000 times over.
That is going to be, the most kit bashed model because I'm looking at it for my Seraphon.
Yeah.
It's going to be both sides of my big temple throne. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're just so perfect.
It's I think it might be the same base size as Marathi as well.
Oh shit.
I'll have to go double check it, but if it is, there's another, Marathi you can work on.
Yep, another Marathi body or a Fulgrim. Is it Fulgrim? Yeah, Fulgrim.
Yeah, Fulgrim.
So, I mean, there's just so many things you can do. I hate them. I hate GW and every part of that company for this because every time they do this, I just see money flying out of my house towards GW. So while we pontificate more and more and more about this stuff, let's go to some of the new rules.
Sounds good to me. I'm actually pretty excited to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as new overarching rules for the game system, there's none.
No.
There's no changes to how we play AOS. There is 3 new realms of battle.
Yeah.
And, ever since they came back out and made the realms of, basically wrote out those realm rules and all that stuff, and they've gone to these very specific realms of battle with very limited, life has been much, much better, without 4,000 artifacts and 350 different realm spells. But again, they've added Praetorus and Shayish, Nvidia and Gairan, which hits me because my city-state is in Gairan, and Emetrica in Hish. Yeah. So you now have, if you're into the kind of playing with the realms, you got 3 new options.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Totally is.
And then the Maggotkin of Nurgle.
Oh man, this brought a smile to my face.
Yeah, just okay.
Papa Nurgle's bounty, overflows.
Yeah, I mean, this is Papa Nurgle's dream right here because someone at GW on the writing staff likes to play the Thricefold Befoulment, but really hates it when the 2 that aren't Rodriguez get tagged up and beat on.
Yeah.
So they made the Sloppity Bile Piper say, no, you can't hurt him anymore. I mean, it's almost like I know they didn't do this, but the combination of the new Sloppity Bile Piper and the new Scrivener just make Thricefold Befoulment so much better. And, oh gosh, you throw some Blight Kings in there and you have got a meaty little sandwich. Oh, it's Nurgle heaven. And they made Beasts of Nurgle cool.
Yeah, no, they did. They did. These are really the 3 war scrolls that, I mean, frankly, I never cared to even look at.
Yeah.
You read them once and you're kind of like, oh, bravery, whatever.
Yeah.
That's okay, I guess. And, the Beast of Nurgle just didn't do much, pound for pound. And,
and
in a
for
way,
the price, he was a sink. You would not take a Beast.
No. I mean, he's got a decent footprint because I think he's on a 60, right? Like he's a fatty, but he didn't do much. Even now, I feel like he's probably still a little too overcosted.
Yeah.
But he does something.
At least now, yeah, they have a purpose and it's not an automatic, I don't want that.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's really one of the more fun models in Nurgle too.
Oh, yeah.
The way you can change it up, kit bash it. I mean, it's just sort of like a puppy, right?
Yeah.
And it just runs around and has fun, is trying to like play with everyone.
It's just a happy little Beast of Nurgle. And yeah.
And people want to play with their models.
That's right.
And so you could have, 3 Beasts of Nurgle sitting in the back, but you end up not playing them because they don't do anything for you. And now they can do something.
Yeah. Now they're going to be an objective holder.
Yeah.
They can camp things, or they can go out there and actually they can force your opponent to have to make decisions, which is always what you want to be doing. Mm-hmm. You want to give them bad choices.
Be a decent little tar pit, if you take 3 units of 1, right? And I mean, just going through, they have their impact hits.
Yes.
They can fly whenever they're retreating, or they can retreat as if they had fly. And then they do more mortal wounds as they do that stuff. So they have this just real fun, like flick back and forth type of thing, jump over stuff, jump back on top of it, jump over. It's a puppy.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be interesting to write lists now because, I have to retool my Thricefold Befoulment to include the Blight Kings and flip things around a little bit. And I'm just hoping I have enough points to have at least one of those in there because I want him.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. I mean, but again, you're playing Nurgle, so you can summon it.
It's a good point. Yeah, you can bring it in.
Nurgle summons fairly well. And one of the cool things is I do believe Sloppity and Spoilpox are summonable.
Yes.
So you can either restore one or, I'm really not going to need a Sloppity until turn 3. So instead, I'm going to keep those points out. I'm going to use them for something else, maybe an extra, unit of Plague Bearers. And so then just I bankroll. That way it's like, all right, it's turn 3, Sloppity hits, and, the Thricefold pops.
And that's exactly about when you're going to want it because that's when you're going to be seriously engaged. Mm-hmm. And your big guys are going to have taken some wounds. Oh, yeah. And you'll need Sloppity there to make that stop. So, plus, it's there's so many wonderful machinations you can do with Maggotkin in this. Hell, we could do a show on that, but just if you play Maggotkin, buy this book. It's a must-have.
It really is. It really is. It just, I just have to say real quick, Sloppity's Jolly Gut Pipes and his tunes have the best names.
They are the best names.
And, everyone has their little second grade giggle when you hear "My love is like a ripe fart."
I know. But it's written to that name. The effect makes that name plausible, so I'm okay. I love it.
Now, One thing that kind of holds Spoilpox back a little bit is he only affects Plague Bearers.
Yes.
But his Invidian host is okay if you're just trying to build up your battle lines.
Yeah.
Right? 2 units of Plague Bearers, a Spoilpox, Scrivener, Sloppity. It's all right.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's.
You can get, a 10 brick of Plague Bearers back, if one of them is killed, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great.
I mean, yeah, it helps you in that I really want to summon this, but I also need to plug a hole.
Yeah.
That gives you the thing to plug the hole, and then you can summon the thing you want.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let me also say this, too. The Invidian Plague Host, if you're a newer player and you're just starting to get your Nurgle models, right? This is a really easy battalion to get.
Yes.
Right? Plague Bearers, you can get them 2 boxes of 10, and then the 2 heroes, and you could start playing.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really great way for, if you're just, dipping a toe into Nurgle.
Yeah.
Or just even starting the game to get on ground floor with some good stuff.
Yep.
So
that's true. I never even really thought of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, this particular Plague Host, I don't think would, ever be like a competitive battalion. No. But again, just starting out, this gives you some ways to play.
It has a purpose. Yeah, it's not an unfilled need.
I mean, because, that's one of the things here. You lose your 10-man unit of Plague Bears, and you get to set 10 more back up, right? As a new player, I mean, it's sort of daunting. I don't want my models to go off the board, right? And so this kind of gives you that comfort that, once the first 10 go out, then I get them back, right? So I think it's great for new players. For new players. Next from there is, Cities of Sigmar.
Well, let's do the 2 easy ones first.
Oh, you want to knock
before we
this
get
out?
to cities?
Okay.
Flesh Eater Courts in this book, you get a War Scroll battalion, which is Mortavels, Hellcourt.
Yep.
It requires you to be Hallowmorn. You get a squad of Crypt Horrors, Crypt Ghouls, and an Arch Regent, which you're probably going to take anyway, so you might as well have the battalion. The problem is the benefit you get is, wow, I don't have to roll battle shock tests for my 10 bravery Flesh Eater card. Yay!
And also, too, most people aren't taking Hallowmorn.
I know.
Gristlegore is,
it's kind
still
of
the way to
thing.
go. Right? So, but if you are playing Hallowmorn.
But yeah, and if you do want to do that horde thing, that's a great deal. If you are taking max units of ghouls and what have you, not having to roll bravery is probably a good thing because you are going to lose 10 or 12 per round, so your 10 bravery ain't going to help. Mm-hmm. But you're going to also have the pluses for having the number. Hey, it's, if you're running Ghoul Patrol, something like that, it's going to be a big help.
Yeah.
If not, forget it. The Bone Reapers. Okay. OCR Bone Reapers get a War Scroll that's limited to the Staliarch Lords. It's called Horrocks Dreadlance. You have to take a Liege Cavalos, who unfortunately becomes a named character. Then you take 2 Cavalos Death Riders. And it lets you use the Rally Back command ability for free on a 4-up. So, again, this is something you are paying for that is then random, which is crap. Okay, so you could conceivably go the entire game with having thrown those points away by not rolling a 4-up.
Yep.
Or you could roll it every turn. Mm-hmm. So the problem again becomes the Liege Cavalos. If you're going to use him as your general, he's got to take the artifact, which is going to be a serious limitation. So it's not that. It's not a good.
I mean, you when you first look at the picture and you're like, oh, Liege Cavalos in 2 units.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Oh, yeah, let's see what this is. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like OBR and Flesh Eater Courts kind of got boned.
Yeah. We're going there again. I love it.
Like, they're okay.
Anytime you have a paid for ability that is then dependent on a die roll, to me it's junk. Mm-hmm. I don't like it because you're paying for a random possibility of a maybe event.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I think we covered them. Let's go Cities of Sigmar. Yeah, they were pretty good. So let's talk about the next show.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So Settler's Gain. If you read through this lore and you thought, man, that's an awesome city.
Guess what?
The rules support it too.
Holy hand grenades.
This makes me want to play cities.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah, it does. Even the War Scroll Battalion, which is, one battle mage who's named.
Yep.
You got the Luminarch with the Beacon of Intellect and one Celestial Hurricanum with the battle mage.
Yeah.
I mean, God, those are cool units too, and you'd want to use them,
Yes. Again, these are things you're going to take no matter what, and you basically you're basically grabbing a feel no pain. You're going to love it. If you have these units, and if you're one of those people that had a lot of older Warhammer Fantasy units, this is a great way to bring them back into your game. The Luminarchs, the Celestial Hurricanums, the Collegiate Arcane, all of these things that have kind of languished a little bit, even in the Cities of Sigmar, because there's, a few massively impressive builds in that book. But here's a way to take some of that older stuff and really make it count. Yep. And that is, we're talking what? 3 command traits, 6 artifacts, 3 spells. One of the command traits is a free CP on a 4-up.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Anytime you get CP for, even on a 4-up. I mean, this is given to you. You're not paying for this.
Yeah.
So I'll take a chance on a 4-up. I'll take a 50-50 chance to get a free command point. Because the things you can do with those are huge. So, it's so well done.
Also, too, I personally liked the first spell, Drain Magic. Like I was reading over all of them, but I see Drain Magic, and any time you can make it harder for your opponent to do anything, it's great. Whether it's movement, which is probably the most important part of the game, but especially spells. There are some armies out there that are pretty heavy on spells. I mean, heck, this could even be a little bit of a dent in some of the Lumineth stuff since they get all those bonuses to casting and stuff. You can try and keep them even.
Yeah, you can keep the pace. If you're up against somebody that only uses spells occasionally, you could put a serious damper on any of that. But you can also use this effectively against Seraphon, who are going to out-magic just about anybody. So you can at least, like you said, keep it more towards parity than just the overwhelming advantage they have.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, think about, going up against Fletcher Court specifically, they try and pop the Feel No Pain spell, but you make it cost 2 more.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey, guess
suddenly
what?
Your Terrorgeist isn't surviving that well.
Exactly.
Which is really probably the way to balance that thing is if it was less survivable, it's a little bit more fair.
Leave my Terrorgeist alone.
Why are you guys such jerks?
Yeah.
I like how Settlers Gain gets Lumineth, right?
Yes.
So then if you do want to dip your toe in a Lumineth, but you're focusing on cities, you've got a way to do it. It's not Stormcast, right?
Yes. I mean, I love having that same, 1 in 4 can be Lumineth now. And, I've always maintained that, for the past few months, I have maintained that Lumineth is the Elite Order army done correctly, whereas Stormcast is an Elite Order army that's not done well. And now you have that option, and those folks that, like you said, want to dip their toes into the Lumineth world can play Free Cities with, again, I don't have enough Free Cities I don't have any Free Cities except for the Hurricanum. I wish I could do this, but I'm stuck with doing my full Lumineth. Oh, well.
Oh, Bill, I'm so sorry.
I have no Free City. I don't even like the Free Cities stuff. The models, they just don't speak to me.
Yeah.
They don't. The Hurricanum does. The Luminarch does. Some of the Collegiate Arcane stuff does. But by and large, just foot troops they don't send me. So.
I can agree with that. I mean, and, in terms of their sculpts, I mean, they're still, from Warhammer Fantasy. They didn't really do anything to update them. So, even the Claymore guys, right?
Yeah.
Those would be super cool if they updated them.
The greatswords would be. And actually, the greatswords aren't really that bad of a... I mean, when we were doing that army for Randall, they're not that bad, the metal ones. They're not horrifyingly bad. They just, next to, the Light of Eltharion, you just go, oh, that's so cute. He's holding a sword up. Yeah, he's nice.
Well, then you look at, the Blade Lords. and those are designed correctly. Like, those is a beautiful design.
Did you see I bought another box of
Yeah,
those?
I saw that yesterday. How many are you up to now?
I only have 10.
Oh,
I
okay.
only have 10 now. So,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure I'll stop there because, yeah.
I don't know how much you want to go into that here, but you know, they're full rules and everything. But I think that they're probably okay at 10. I could see a really fun time taking, like, for funsies 30. But
You know, the thing about them is, and what I thought was really funny about the Blade Lords is, and we said they would never ever be battle lined, and then come to find out that for every one of the what's his name,
Sonari.
yeah, for every Sonari, one of them becomes battle line, and you know, of course, people are screaming, "Oh, they automatically hit, they're OP, blah 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 blah." Well, okay, here's the balancing part of that. They're semi expensive. And if you do the auto hit with them, they give up the ability to do the extra mortal wounds. So, and you know, like we all know, auto hit means nothing. You still have to roll the wound.
Oh yeah.
And then sometimes you have saves. So the things that they're just going to be able to kill without thinking, like, you know, t-shirt save skeletons and ghouls, yeah, they're going to plow through them like nothing. But there was nothing that was going to stop that anyway. Whereas when you send them up against something that has a decent save, if you choose the auto hits, you're giving up the mortal wounds because you can only get that on a 6 to hit or a 5 or a 6 to hit. So why would you?
Actually, the Blade Lords themselves don't have the Sun Metal Weapons rule,
Right.
so they don't even get that.
Okay. No, but it can be cast on them. That buff can be put on them.
Okay.
So it's just one of those. I don't know. You know, that whole thing of auto hits. It's kind of like what's his name with the 1-up save. Everybody was like, "Wow, 1-up save! It's gonna ruin the entire game. The whole thing's over. You'll never be able to." Well, yeah. How come they die in droves?
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is get past it. And you know what? People are gonna roll ones. And since it can't be modified, guess what? So it's, you know, I think the community as a whole goes through a little bit of Chicken Little stuff every now and again where the sky is falling. But I don't mind running a unit of 10. Mm-hmm. I would even probably, you know, if I could work it, I would probably even get more to run 2 units of 10 because I don't believe that they're all that bad, but I want to focus on the cavalry. Mm-hmm. But then again, that army is so freaking beautiful. Oh, God. And, you know, I hated them when they first came out.
Yeah.
Could not stand them, those stupid hats. And the more I look at them now with the different paint schemes, and, you know, I still maintain that GW picked the worst paint scheme to display them in. That pastel look really did them a huge disservice.
Yeah.
And they needed to be done in a strikingly brilliant paint scheme so that the hats weren't so freaking obvious. But
the thing that got me the most, I mean, let me say this. The original launch, I didn't like the general aesthetic. Particularly the hammer guys with the Alarith, right?
Yeah.
I can't get over how stupid those hats are. Like, I don't think you can paint that away, Bill. I don't think you can paint that away. But I'm willing to see pictures to prove me wrong.
That takes a knife.
Yeah. Yeah. If their head was the bull helmet that's on top of the stupid hat, it would be so freaking cool.
Yes.
And you have them marching around next to like a Velinor and stuff because they would look like little Velinors or, you know, things like that. So awesome. But no, we're going to have weird tall hats. Yes. And I couldn't get over that. But then this launch came.
Yeah.
And there's a fair amount I still don't like. I mean, there's all the tassels and dilly boppers hanging off of some of them. But I mean, for me, like Alani and Elithor and the Wind Spirits and the Wind Mage, just so beautiful. I can't stop looking at them at the store, and I'm probably gonna buy some pretty soon.
Yeah, me too. I just, like I said, I didn't like them when they first came out. They have grown and grown as I've seen different people paint them up in different ways. I really whistled through my teeth there. The more I see people doing them in different paint schemes, the more I'm just like, wow, they really are. I mean, even with the hats, I just always throw back to that old comment about, the guy that was looking into the Warhammer hobby,
Mhm.
and he really didn't know everything about the hobby, but his conclusion was, in Warhammer, the cooler your hat, the better off you are on the table. And I was just like, oh my God, look at Nagash. He's got one of the biggest hats. Okay. It's, you compare Nagash, this super thing, and then you go back to, what's that Stormcast model with the wispy wind, the hurricane thing around him, and he's carrying Galmaraz.
Oh my God.
I don't even remember what it is, but he has no hat.
Celestin Prime?
Yeah, Celestin Prime. He has no hat.
Yeah.
And he's not cool. He's not even good. But you flip around and you go to some of these other models, the ones who have hats are really good. And the better your hat, the better you are.
Well, that could explain Gardas, maybe.
I am so not going there. Oh my God.
Next week when we talk about next show when we talk about Bellicor.
Oh.
There's some things in here that just, to me, make me want to kit bash. And when I see something and I'm like, I want to change this in a meaningful way, means it's a great kit. Like, for example, like Severeth. I want to turn him into essentially the Monkey King.
Yeah.
Right? Which would be so easy to do, because then you could just put a staff in his hand. You just, clip it, fit it just right, and he could have this really big staff. He's doing his twisty bits.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I'd want it to do.
Super awesome. Yep.
Maybe get a Goku paint scheme on the Wind Mage.
Something. Yeah.
And then I'd have to figure out what to do for those wind charges, because I just can't stand the hat, man.
Oh. I don't mind them that much. I'm talking myself into not minding them. I hope you know that.
I'd almost want to, this would be so expensive, get the Bliss Barbs.
Oh.
Get the wind chargers and swap it out so the Bliss Barb riders are on the wind chargers.
Oh, Jesus.
Spending $130 per 5.
Per 5. Wow. Yeah, no, that's too much.
Or just, I guess, use the Bliss Barbs.
Yeah.
But counts as.
All right, we are seriously over our time. So to wrap up, I think we should wrap up. What are your thoughts of Broken Realms Teclis overall?
My overall thoughts, I like where this is moving the story. I like how this is propelling us into perhaps a new form of narrative with, the hope versus despair discussion. And it's setting up major moves in the story, things that are going to shake things up. I hope with Tyrion, the things that L'Oreal's facing, all those things. I'm excited for what this means for the lore, and I'm excited that we have a Cities of Sigmar army that actually looks like something I want to play.
Yeah.
How about you, Bill?
So, again, I will echo the idea that I love the overarching theme of there is hope in the mortal realms, and it doesn't have to be Sigmar. I love the idea that they are not holding anything out as a, you can't touch this, as a symbol of Sigmar going forward. Nothing is off the table. If Nagash if the way death is written at this point is too limiting for our purposes going forward, we're not above taking the main character in death down. And, he might come back, and that's fine. In 2 years, he might make a big resurgence. But in that time, all the factions have had a chance to spread their wings. Mm-hmm. And it just bodes super well. What I've seen in Marathi is they're willing to take a faction that was in the Order, Grand Alliance, which kind of right now are meaningless, and split it off and say, yeah, no, we're not. We're our own thing now. Mm-hmm. And in this book, they're very willing to say, hey, one of the major gods of the Broken Realms has just been laid low. We're willing to go anywhere. We don't care what it takes. We're going to get the lore and the path forward where we want it to be to tell stories that are going to be amazing. And I say, God bless him and do it some more. And I showed you before, my Bellicor is still in shrink wrap. The minute I hit the button to stop recording, that shrink wrap's coming off and I am diving into that book. So, because I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with the first Prince.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, I'm gassed looking forward.
I mean, they've got to do something to pay homage to that model, right? To make it mean something. I mean, the model's beautiful.
Yeah.
Story looks promising.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to working on some lists for the first Prince too.
Oh, Jesus, me too. God, I hate Anders. Speaking of whom, we are going to work up. We are hopefully going to be interviewing our local store manager, Anders.
Loving us.
I've never been able to pronounce his name real good because I are American and he are foreign. Yeah, we're going to work up some questions for him, and we're going to get him on the show because the last time we had Anders on the show was episode 50 for our 50th episode, which is so freaking redundant it hurts. For episode 50, our 50th show. Burp. Okay, wow.
Was that the 50th show?
Yeah, it was right. Yeah, it was the one right after 49. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
but before 51.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
totally.
Gotcha. All right.
And dork. So it's time to have him back. He just had the 3-year store anniversary, so he has somehow survived all of us geeks. And I want to get him back on the show and say, "What you thinking?" So
Yeah, be a
stay
good
tuned
update.
for that. Yep.
Be a good update. And he's great. He's great on the show.
Yeah.
So looking forward to having him back on to give us an update.
Certainly give us his take on things. And, in the spirit of full disclosure, we're going to send Anders a bunch of questions that we're going to ask. He still has to go through corporate. So, let's be real here, folks. But, he's a great guy and he knows where to walk that line.
Yeah.
And so we'll get him some questions and he'll get them okayed. And then we'll have him on.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, he can talk about hobby and all the other stuff as much as he wants. It's just when we ask questions about GW stuff, those have to be.
Properly vetted.
Yeah. All right. Are we good?
I think so. So folks, don't forget, engage with us on social media. We'll be posting up all the links for that here. Look for the Instagram coming forward. You can find me at Heretic Model. You can also find me on Facebook. Additionally, keep a lookout for our Discord channel as well. We'll be getting links in, the show notes as well as on Facebook. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever you have to do on whatever platform it is. Keep engaged with us. We look forward to engaging with you and featuring you on the show.
Yeah.
So,
And engagement may have its rewards coming very soon.
yes, that will be revealed on the next show.
Dun, 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 dun.
It was nice to meet everyone here. Again, my name is Josh Alt. It's a pleasure joining you, Bill. I can't wait to do this for many, many weeks to come.
Good. It's so nice to have you. Trust me, it's awesome. Bye. Hey folks, what's coming up next is a spot that Elric and I recorded toward the end of, I believe, February to close the show out. Obviously, bringing Josh on as the new co-host means the show will go on. So where we talk about the show's going on hiatus, please ignore that. I did stop the Patreon for February, March, and April, but it'll pick up again in May. Hopefully you'll enjoy the new co-host and myself, which you probably already hate me, but give Josh a chance because he's way better than me. So just want to let you know that when we talk about ending and stopping in the next segment here, it's not really true. The show will be going back to every 2 weeks, as much as we can do around our 2 schedules. So yeah, this show was all about Teclis, and next we'll be doing Bellicor, and we'll be moving on to newer and better things and getting feedback from y'all about what you want to hear us talk about, or if you just want us to shut up, that's fair too. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that Elric was able to get his parting shots in, and it's, vintage Elric. So enjoy for your listening pleasure. There is no truth in the following segment. Well, I mean, most of it's true, but the part about us ending is not true. Yeah, okay.
Stormcaster, cool. Welcome to the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number, I don't really remember.
X. Call it X.
In today's episode, we'll be discussing the future of the show.
Yeah, or the lack thereof.
or the
Yeah.
lack thereof.
Ooh.
So
Foreshadowing.
we just wanted to record a quick spot to give everybody an update as to what's going on here. And that would be that due to the release of the Lumineth Realm Lords on the horizon and their horrendously broken rules that we have not actually seen but have only heard about on Twitter, it's very clear that Games Workshop has no love for its player base, has sold all its integrity for a quick buck, and we can no longer support it. Of course, this is all, again, based off a handful of tweets and internet rage. And this time we've decided to wholeheartedly embrace it rather than denounce knee-jerk reactions. We're going full Karen on this one, Bill.
Yes.
We're going
Full.
full Karen.
Full Karen. I want to speak to their manager.
Absolutely. I don't even know what the new book does, but by God, I'm upset
Because Twitter is.
because Twitter is.
And I saw a Facebook post.
Yeah, and it had like 4 likes, which is obviously the entire internet
The plethora
outraged.
thereof.
So, yeah, I can't support this travesty any longer, sir. It's too much for me, and I got to draw a line in the sand.
Whoop.
This far, no further, in the words of Captain Picard.
That idiot. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, in all seriousness, we are going to be putting the show on an indefinite hiatus.
Yeah.
I think both of us are at a point where we are no longer enthusiastic about Age of Sigmar, and it's not because of the Lumineth
No.
Realm Lords. It's not because of Games Workshop, anything like that. I think we're both just,
Don't say both of us just yet.
oh, okay. Well, me. Fine. I'll just talk about me. Yeah, I just have no more interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
I've sold all of my stuff. I've backed out of the gaming and the hobby completely. And because of that, I don't think I really, not that I ever did, bring a lot to the show. I'm sure Randall will be drinking that in. Yeah, and we just don't want to continue to put out.
We don't want to do it for the doing it sake.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fair to the listeners. It's not really even fair to the hobby, the community, what have you.
Yeah, we don't want to get to that point where it's like at the end of a relationship where you're just going through the motions of it.
Mhm.
We want to be able to look into each other's eyes and share the passion and,
That's right.
you know, still have that honeymoon-esque fervor about it.
But we're-
Recording the show, Bill. I'm talking about recording the show.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the kids again.
Yeah, so I think Bill has something up his sleeve, maybe. I don't want to make any promises. Actually, I'm just going to go out and say it right now. Bill will continue doing the show regularly, producing absolute AAA quality content, all, you know, of his own accord. He is that much of a tenacious hobby beast. Jesus. No, I don't know what he has up his sleeves, but I think you want to continue doing something
Yes.
in this space. Right?
Yes. Yes. This will not, I mean, the Elric and I version of Rolling Bad is going on a hiatus for a bit until Elric comes back.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I mean, I fully support your decision. You're making it for a real purpose. And, you know, what am I supposed to do? Say, no, you can't. You're still on the show.
Yeah.
Damn it. Start getting prepared.
Oh, God.
Buy that battle tome that you're not going to use.
Exactly. Which I
Study it.
will actually still
I know, you will
likely
do.
do that just to read the lore and keep up on some stuff. But
And I mean, it seems strange at a time when so much is happening in the AOS world. So many releases are coming, and this is the year of AOS. It looks like at this point, there is just so much stuff. Curse City is on the horizon. Everybody kind of thinks 3.0 is on the horizon, and we're looking at the content and going, we really can't create much out of this. And it's mostly because our take on it is just not, it's not there. And this is it's not you, it's me.
yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put all of this back on the community for not properly inspiring me to do more for them.
Wow. Yes.
You know,
Why should we take the blame?
if the community had been more engaging to my interests, perhaps I would have done more to to produce better content, but instead you people are lazy. I'm just kidding. It's horrible. It's so bad.
You know, the thing is I'm about to say, Elric, there's no AOS community on Tinder, okay?
Oh, that's true.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of other people that we need to blame. And, you know, I don't want to get sidetracked on just one group.
Yeah, it'd be like the worst Oscar acceptance speech ever. It's just blaming everybody for everything.
But that's really the point is we're not, we've come to a point after 106 episodes that it's just, we've burned ourselves kind of out. Not, at least for me, not the hobby and not AOS, but the function of doing a podcast every week, every 2 weeks, not every week. Wow. No, every 2 weeks. And it's, you know, one of those deals where we literally have to devote a day every weekend to this thing. And, you know, it impacts the hobby time. It impacts the ability to study and, you know, the people that are doing it, the AOS coaches out there, the 2+ toughs that are just still kicking it with super good content. Absolutely amazing stuff all the time. I mean, my hat's off to you. Yeah. I truly, you know, AOS coach is he's the thing that I would strive to be, you know, if we were going to continue this on, because he just puts heart and soul into absolutely everything. And it shows. It's pure quality. And I mean, I've been looking at some of our later shows and it's just not good. It's just, you know, Brohammer. It's just us talking about how cool GW is. And, you know, I don't think that makes for a good content-driven show. And we always wanted to do that. So we'll take a break and see what happens. Now, there's going to be a couple of shows coming up because I've already worked out a deal with our local GW guy to do the same thing that we did a bunch of shows back, where we're going to get some questions for him and get his take as a Warhammer retail guy and a pretty avid hobbyist, where he thinks everything is from his point of view. And then we're probably going to do, there's so much, I'm always at this crossroad place where I always think that the current AOS lore is so lacking in depth and feeling. And yet, as we are starting to see more and more lore get dumped on us, it's becoming refreshing. It's actually becoming pretty interesting. And the Broken Realms stuff, I think, is what's going to jumpstart the AOS lore. They're actually moving the story forward. We're going to see stuff. I do want to say thank God for all those people that are putting out the memes of all this stuff is going on in the mortal realms, and what the hell is Sigmar doing? Really, what's he doing? He's Fat Thor right now. You know, I mean, he's just sitting around going, and I mean, I've been looking at those teasers about Grungni and the Dispossessed, and you know, maybe we're going to see some crazy dwarf stuff coming up, and I'm just like, oh yeah. I
got to say, the new Lumineth Realm Lord models. I've been seeing pictures on Twitter where people, it's like kind of a collage or whatever. It's all of the new stuff in one thing, and I'm like, good Lord, the visually that army together just looks so stunning. I mean, I loved High Elves back in the days, and this is just High Elves taken to a whole nother level. So very cool. Very, very cool.
Oh, it is.
So you had to see something like another thing like Dispossessed or whatever get the same level of treatment. Oof, man, it would be cool.
And you know, we always say it. We're in a golden age for AOS right now, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to be. Even with COVID and the slowdown of the releases from Games Workshop, it hasn't slowed any of their creativity, any of their amazing stuff that they put out. It's just over the top good.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't feel like we're covering it at the level and that it deserves. And the lore is one of those things that has been shown repeatedly that you can do entire shows based on nothing but the lore. of AOS. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
have series, look at 2 Plus Tough doing all of his deep dives into everything. I mean, it's deep enough now that you can just get lost in it, and it's great to be on that wave. But again, I don't think we're ready and able to do it justice. Rather than half-ass it, we'll just sort of put it on hiatus here, and then when we have that creative fire again, we'll do it up.
There you go.
I mean, it's funny that I have been delving into things like Star Wars Legion and Marvel Crisis Protocol pretty hard.
Yeah,
And,
you've done more hobby, I think, over the last 6 weeks than
Yeah.
you have in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And none of it is Games Workshop.
I know, that's what's so sad.
Yeah,
So,
that
I mean,
sounds cool.
I haven't really lost that hobby mojo. It's just that there's more people right now that want to play Crisis Protocol. And, my wife wants to play Crisis Protocol. You want to play it.
Yeah.
Andrew wants to play it. So I'm like, well, I'll get games in with that. So that's where my focus is. And same thing with Legion. My wife is having an absolute blast playing Legion. So, and
yeah.
I never would have thought she'd get into a miniatures game. She's never really had that drive. I mean, she did a Skaven army for LVO, but I think that was just to be a part of the crowd when we went that first year. And,
Oh, yeah.
she's really never touched it since. And I bought her all that Idneth Deepkin, which has still sat in boxes, as if that's some bad thing in this house. Wow. Wow, was
Along
that.
with the
Okay.
other armies.
Yeah. So, I mean, if she's into it, I'm obviously going to put some effort and stuff there. So she wants me to paint the Wookiees, so I'll probably do that tonight.
Nice.
It's one of the things you got to do. But first, my Death Guard, my Death Troopers are coming first. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But that's where we're at. I mean, I still love AOS. I still love 40K. There's nothing changing. It's amazing games. Absolutely over the top. And where we're headed, I think, it's hard to say that we're in a golden age that we've been in for the last 5 years, but it's true. It's amazing what we have. And it's payoff for all those years of getting snubbed by the company and told to shut up and we'll get you a codex whenever we feel like it. Now they actually respond to the community input. Don't ever respond to the Lumineth Realm Lord stuff. Those are stupid people.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing that you can reach out to the designers and say, did you really mean that? And they're like, yeah, play it. Don't think about it. Play it.
Yeah.
And okay, I can't wait to build my Lumineth Realm Lords and the Fox guy and just be the guy that everybody wants to boycott.
Sure.
Yeah. I do love it. So
It's the best.
it is. It is. So I guess with that, we will sign off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So yeah, that's it for this version 1.0 of Rolling Bad. Stay tuned for,
Oh, this would be like 2.0.
is it? Yeah, because we did do that one. Yeah. So 2.0 is over. Hey, we're tracking AOS, man.
There you
We're
go.
going to be 3.0. June, we come back. Boom.
Yeah.
AOS 3.0. We're all totally reinvigorated. Yay. No?
No.
You're looking at me like, shut up.
Sorry, buddy.
So, I mean, with that, we're out of it for a while. There will be shows. There's a couple planned. Nothing in the can, but there's some plans to do shows that I've already talked to people about, and I don't want to leave them in the lurch because, they've expended effort. So we need to as well. But for that, yeah, that's it.
Bye.
If you would like to get in touch with us, you can reach us at our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/rollingbadpodcast, all one word. Our Patreon page is at www.patreon.com/rollingbadpodcast, again, all one word. The Twitter account for the show is at rolling_bad. And our individual Twitters are, for me, at Bill Castello, BILLCASTELLO. All of our guests on the show will have their contact information in that show's show notes. The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.